Welcome back to Roots of Heaven. This is session number 11, entitled The Three Sisters. Last session, the group spent some time downtiming and eventually got to the point where the opera day had come to be. They have moved into the opera house and are currently in the entrance hall, one of a number of entrance halls that leads into the grand theater, where they will be entering into. This is before the 30-minute call, so they're still kind of mingling, meandering about. There are, beverages and refreshments, a number of individuals. Last time I was a bit caught off guard at the end of the session. I thought there'd be a bit more kind of lead up to it, so there was a lot of time I had available to me. But I did manage to flesh out the room. Every person inside the room is now accounted for. So if you did have desires on a I know a guy or what have you, they're still there. I could probably still work it in, but at this point, most of the people in the theater are accounted for, or inside the entrance hall rather, are accounted for. Let's focus on the ones we know about. The individual Ekstrom was in a large group of individuals near the main door that will lead into the theater proper, kind of up to the north there. This is kind of a ballroom situation, so there's a descent from the normal kind of high floor with mirrored walls in it, and most of the people are kind of milling about there. There is a grand piano which is currently being performed on by an individual who is known by one of your party members as Nathan Patel. Nathan is also lined up according to the program for this event to be the impresario and the conductor for this specific production. Along with the individual known as Nathan are two other people, two bardly looking types, one an elf who appears to be wearing garb from some other country outside of Osiria, and a blonde-haired woman who is kind of in pace with the rhythm of the instrumental from Nathan, is tapping percussion on her stringed instrument. It appears to be a guitar. Just filling the room with a pleasant enough piano melody. Let's see, who else did we talk to? Oh, right. Aveline spoke to a gnome from the house that launched her across the Broken Blade Coast via cannon. His name is Noeg, Noeg. And he introduced her to a bronze scale dragonborn named Vasher Narada. And they haven't really talked too much, mostly just milling about. Belroth is, while we're talking about where people are located, so Sen is on one side of the steps leading up to the main door, keeping a distance away from Terry, who's also kind of looking up the steps. Both of them kind of keeping an eye on Ekstrom, concerned about that situation. Yeah, not too far from the door, Namalia has taken a position kind of at the top of the stair, also keeping an eye on Ekstrom. Belroth is standing around by himself, like an absolutely glorious himbo. Yeah, I don't think anybody else was left out there. Oh, Jai, right. Jai would have been milling about the room, but once Nathan started playing on the piano, would have kind of stirred over to this group of performers and just milled around with them.
Real quick back. Jai was responsible for dressing Belroth.
Right. So thank you. Zach, I need you to do two things on the fly. I know you have no pre-game situation here, but this is the most enjoyable portion of it. The group had plenty of time prior to arriving here to adorn each and every one of you in kind of finery, and I believe everyone else has kind of discussed what they looked like over the course of last session, but we left Belroth blank because Magpie said that Jai would be responsible for outfitting him, and Jai would also be responsible for outfitting himself. So we're going to go ahead and very quickly retcon last session to the point where we all know how those two look by letting Zach, again with the freedom of anything you could pretty much imagine in the city, describe what the two look like. And just just so you know, I believe Zizo just posted a link in our Discord as to how Namalia looks, which is a kind of very light pink, pastel pink gown, very long and flowing, with a veil kind of see-through over the top of her head tail, and yeah, just very ornamental. A lot of I'm trying to think of what the terminology for that patterning is called, but I'm dumb right now, so I can't. It's pretty. The lacy lace. That's the fucking word. It's lace.
That's embroidery.
That's embroidery.
Yeah, that's tambour embroidery. That's commonly done in India.
Fair.
Gold work.
That's what it is. But it's
really like it.
Kind of lacy, right? No,
what?
I don't know the difference. I am not a sewer. What? She's the sewer.
I mean, tambour is like, it has like a little crochet hook, and it makes doing embroidery a lot faster. I know how to do it, but
girl, you the sewing artist.
Indeed.
That's what they call me.
I'm not. So this situation that just arose is very much the same situation that arises when I try to talk about boats and like manning boats and like captaining boats, because usually the people I play with are much smarter about how boats work than I am. I'm like, yeah, the thing. That's the one. You know, with the thingamadoo. That.
It's got a flappy sail thing on a big posty thing with the wood and the stuff and
we got it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're kind of saying how those individuals are kind of adorned, but to kind of give you like a full concept, like there's no over the top that I couldn't imagine being possible. So, Zach,
I mean,
you have to post sends.
Oh yeah, sorry, hold on.
If you want to just quickly describe what you think Jai would be wearing and what Belroth would be forced into, that would be great.
So, a quick question: does
Sure.
Belroth have any like family crest or any like colors, anything that means like normally on your outfit? Like, would you have like a symbol on your shield or like a symbol that you wore? Is there anything that like Belroth would normally be repping?
I'm not quite sure, but
Grey
like
Order
something
logo.
the Grey Order logo. Like that's basically his life. I don't know if there's any sort of like personal emblem that he would have.
Okay. So my thought is gray is not like the most fun of colors, but silver is. And I think if you took different shades of like varying from white to black with every shade of gray in between, and it's sort of a billowing, very loose, it's like a 3/4 cape is what I'm imagining, with like a really clean, just like gray, almost like a I don't want to say like a modern business suit, but like normal breeches, you know, almost a fluffy kind of blouse is what I'm picturing, and then just like a big 3/4 cape with multiple layers, and each layer underneath would be like a slightly different shade of silver, so they kind of shimmer as Belroth like walks through the room and creates this sort of like I want to say like a shimmering wave behind him. That's where I'm like picturing. So it's like Grey Order, but like ratcheted up a little bit and made pretty, because Jai can't do gray. He did silver.
Shiny gray. All right.
Shiny gray, yeah.
Shiny gray.
Now, and as you can see, Sen is the standout. That's apparently the one to beat. Very much a prismatic, scaled kind of dress with like feathers kind of draping down from the sleeves, and massive kind of blue, like bird of paradise kind of feathers set atop as a crown. Sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, they are likely, they don't have their normal face on.
Yeah, they've probably mocked up the makeup through shifting to kind of, because in the picture that's being utilized, like there's kind of a very high eyebrow that kind of connects with the feathering. which would be something that Sen could manipulate through shifting. Okay, so Jai, again, sky's the limit.
So what I'm picturing is Jai has probably made himself almost the exact same outfit as Belroth, but for himself. And instead of just silver, whites, and blacks like he's done with there, he has a cloak of many fashions.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that it's prismatic and almost like waving through, like every color is sort of running across the coat in itself, like magically is just sort of like
going.
Yeah, exactly, like a holographic card. When you kind of like wiggle it a little bit and you see that like rainbow effect, it's got that similar rainbow effect. So depending on where like someone is looking at it and how it's catching the light, it kind of like rainbows, but like together we look like we're wearing the same outfit and we're like a cute couple, but she's the gray one and I'm the fucking out there, or
he's the gray one.
Belroth. I'm looking at Meg. He is the long hair.
That's adorable.
But yeah, like Jai would have gone for couples for sure. Like, oh, I get to dress you. We're going arm in arm, and I'm gonna be your cute little boo, and like
twinsies.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Adorable.
So literally,
and
so
for
Belroth
sure,
is
Jai
basically
is
being
walking
dragged
around with like in Belroth's arm, like his arm candy.
I would assume once you kind of form the kind of conclave with the other bards, Belroth's just standing nearby, and probably, I mean, if you're fiddling with instruments or talking to someone specifically, I mean, Belroth's right there. But yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's the wives while everyone's in the locker room, or the husbands watching TV while everyone's in the kitchen cooking. That's the vibe.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start with you, Zach, since you weren't here last session, to kind of give you a bit of a chance to kind of assert yourself here, or just hang back and be cash. But yeah, Nathan seems to be focused on the piano. This individual, Leaf, who you've met, Leaf Stashientello, is, so far as you've been told and what he has said, is a refugee from the Dragon Isles. He says that a great cataclysm has happened in recent months, and he and the master of his enclave have come out to Knock to receive basically sanctuary. And you've heard of him before. A bit of his music is already trapped through, moved through Knock. And then Ara is familiar to you. You know her. She and you have, slam danced a number of times throughout the city, and the two of you are, very comfortable. She is very much focused on stringed instruments. But yeah, there's those individuals. Close to you, you see individual in kind of magey robes, gray hair, kind of watching idly behind you. And the person that's kind of focused on, there's a guy who's kind of focused on Belroth, doesn't approach him or anything, just seems to be kind of looking him over, is a man who appears to be holding a head in his hand, kind of off to his side. The head appears to be an exact duplicate of his own head. He's wearing kind of finery, which marks him as kind of a Parnan man, someone from Parnak, and he has kind of an almost predatory kind of look to him. I don't mean so much in the sense of like a sexual predator. I mean more so in like the sense of like he devours flesh. Like, well, I guess it could still be sexual. He looks like a murderer. If that makes any sense. If you ask about these two individuals, you will learn that Routhwin is the name of the human with the gray hair, and Hadrian is the name of the man with the head in his hand.
Okay.
Is that doing anything for you yet?
Oh, I knew who Hadrian was right off the bat. Like when you said man with head. Oh, okay. But so I imagine I've like the first thing Jai is doing is like going through and talking about all of the new music coming from Leaf, and like I imagine like it's just modes are different, harmonic styles are slightly different. Like
what you're picking up is
Yeah.
Leaf seems to be very modern in kind of his willingness to kind of accept new technique, but his foundation, from what you can appear, is very dated. And from what you know about the history of the Dragon Isles, that makes sense. The elves of the Ellen Shea Enclave were very kind of isolationists, kind of set in the Dragon Isles, unable to really leave that space due to their charge, from what you can recall from your stories and hearing.
Okay.
So you definitely get a vibe that Leaf is coming at it from a very antiquated kind of perspective, but it's not without its grace. Like, he is absolutely a master in his techniques, and he's absolutely willing to kind of incorporate these new things he's learning from you, Nathan, and Ara into his pacings.
Yeah, and I'm happy to like share that knowledge back with him as much as he's willing to take. But when that conversation has kind of run its course, I do want to. You said it was Hadrian who was staring down Belroth, right?
Not so much staring down; it just kind of he's standing there, similarly, not really glomming on to any social grouping, and he's kind of looking to Belroth like there's like a familiarity with the position that Belroth's in, like, I don't belong here, and like, what are we doing here kind of situation.
Got it. Then I actually, if Belroth is kind of looking over at me, or like if I can get his attention, I want to kind of bring Belroth with me to talk to Hadrian, if he'll catch my drift.
Yeah, so the two of you kind of like connect and then move over to Hadrian. You are easily capable of telling that he has a moment where he's trying to not pay attention to you, like trying to make it look like he's not affording you any attention. And then when you kind of come upon him, he kind of like turns to you surprised and goes, "Hello, can I help you?"
I don't know if you can help me. I was just looking to introduce myself. A bit different than most of the other individuals here, and I like look down to the head that he's holding.
He nods, and yes, most folks aren't terribly fond of my brother, but I make no excuses for him whatsoever.
Are you going to introduce me, or?
He's not very talkative. He kind of grins, and you can get an immediate vibe like there's a mystery there, like. Maybe it's sentient, maybe not. Maybe it is just an object that he's holding.
Right.
It definitely does have an almost wax-like appearance at this point. But again, you aren't sure whether or not it is just artifice or something more macabre. And he says, "So no, I do most of the talking. Yes, you
then allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jai Maknos, and this is my, I'll call you my date for the evening, Belroth."
You see him smile and says, "Well, you're a cute couple. I do like your attire. Was that made here in the city?"
I actually did it myself. I've got this fabric maker down in the west side. She put together all of these pieces for me ahead of time, and Belroth was so kind to be just the perfect stand while I put it all together on him.
Perfect. It's absolutely magnificent.
I wasn't entirely sure if it was going to work with but it just came together, Sometimes you get an idea and you just got to follow through.
Oh, I completely understand. As you're kind of looking him over, the jewelry and adornments he's wearing, you do notice that there are a couple of points where you see a very familiar mark. It's the symbol of Ashmedea, which is the demon prince of greed. But you know that there are some merchants who will kind of bear deference to that individual due to their profession. So it might be the case that he's not some dragon cultist or something, just someone who kind of is living lavishly. And he says, "I'm Hadrian. I come from the city of Parnak. I have a number of associates, affiliations. I I've been working very hard my life in the city as a paragon. I have lived for quite some time, and I've been able to bring some balance and semblance of rightness to the city streets, thanks to the grand rulership of the Lady of Rostagar there.
I see. So, I suppose what brings you so far out this way?
Well, I was invited. A associate of mine requested my presence here. I have individuals capable of moving individuals across the world very quickly, so I allowed for myself to be brought out this way. He seems to gesture, as he says that, over to the far side of the ballroom that you're kind of standing, or the ballroom floor that you're standing on, to a group of individuals here. You see a human male dressed similarly to Leaf, very kind of strangely foreign. You see a man kind of in Saryujan garb, with a smile on his face that's literally just blinding with the lights above kind of shining on it, and a Kenku individual. But it seems that Hadrian's kind of denoting the Saryujan male, not the Dragon Isle male.
Got it. Is all your... I just totally lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No worries. If you need a second.
Yeah, can we flip off me for a second?
I'm gonna shift off you for a second. I'm gonna flip over to Namalia. Close to where you're standing, kind of coming up the stairs as you're kind of taking your position and looking at Ekstrom, and almost nearly blocking your view at this point, is a human male with kind of bright red hair. He's wearing finery that marks him as a Liberian, or person from Liberus, which is the kingdom to the south of Nock. So Nock is on the borderland of two kingdoms, Munio to the north, Liberus to the south, and he appears to be marked in that attire. He has two warrior maidens that seem to be walking with him. One is carrying an axe on her belt, and the other is carrying a sword on her back. The one with the sword is blonde-haired. The one with the axe has kind of like dark, almost like a purple colored hair. But the thing that strikes you as strange about both of them is they both have a golden halo that shines above their heads, marking them to you as children of Celestials, Aasimar. But they kind of block your sight of Ekstrom as they kind of move up that way. So, what would you like to do?
I feel like
there's an awkward kind of.
I know. I feel like Namalia is not super well suited to this kind of like sort of
social.
Yeah. So I mean, I think she would probably. I mean, she wants to keep an eye on Ekstrom.
Well, you can slip past them and head down the stairs to regroup with Terry. Terry seems to have a line of sight on him. Muted.
Yeah, I think that's what she will do. Okay. She's not really looking to socialize.
Okay. The thing you notice immediately is that the two warrior maidens, as you kind of pass by, kind of watch you warily. Like, they seem to be threat detection mode. And they seem to be very focused on guarding this gentleman. I would say with your kind of knowledge of land-living creatures, this is a whelp. I mean, maybe in his teens, like, possibly in his early 20s, this child, this redheaded man that they're guarding. Anyways, you head over to Terry, and we'll go ahead and shift to Terry then. Terry, you're at the bottom of the steps, kind of looking up at Ekstrom, looking over to Sen and seeing Namalia kind of approach behind you. As you kind of get close to Terry, the gray-haired gentleman, Rathlin, who is named for Jai will kind of move away from you, kind of not trying to intrude or be too close to people. He doesn't seem to know. He seems to be very paranoid and keeping his distance from people, similar to you. But Terry, Namalia comes up behind you, and
Okay, so you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I see this gray hair guy like move away from moves her away from Namalia. I'm gonna say to Namalia, it's like, so what's up? What's with him? In your head.
I mean, Namalia will respond telepathically, right? Like, I have no idea. I think he seems to recognize Belroth.
All right. What about those pretty ladies at the top of the stairs? What do you think of them?
Well, they're clearly Asimar. I don't know if you're familiar with the Asimar.
How familiar am I with the Asimar?
You can make a religion or an arcana check, your choice. And tell me what you're rolling and what you got.
I will do Arcana.
Okay.
18.
Not bad. So you're kind of familiar with humans that are imbued with the power or the bloodline of celestials. Basically, there are a number of different beings that are touched by the being, or kind of touched lineage-wise by creatures outside of the material plane, known as plane touch collectively. But they include tieflings, Aasimar, Kaons, Zenithri, and so forth. There's other plane touched individuals as well.
They seem to be guarding the little redhead, or that young redhead. Not little. He's not little, is he?
He looks like he's formidable physically, but you can definitely tell he's younger.
Young. Okay. And they're guarding that redhead. I don't think they're from around here.
I guess here's a good question for you, Jizo. And again, if it's weird, just answer however you please. But would Namalia be capable of finding a human male handsome? Like, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think she can tell that someone's handsome. Sure.
Sure. Okay. So he is handsome. Yeah, he appears to be very handsome.
Okay. I mean, I don't think she would react.
Oh, sure.
Like Shijo might react, but I don't know if Namalia would.
Well, let's see.
Okay. Yeah, he's sort of like a warrior twink.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. He is a warrior twink. Jeremy, if you ever watch this, hilarious.
Should clip that just for Jeremy.
Yeah, I probably will.
There seem to be a lot of very important people here tonight. It's definitely putting me a little bit on edge.
Yeah, I hope. And I'm saying this all in his head, or in her head. Yeah, thankfully, I don't think I recognize anybody around here.
Because I probably would have been ripping them off at that point in the past. In it.
Are you trying to say you're on the run from somebody?
No. Why would
Not today.
Why would I be on the run from somebody?
Fair enough. Let's keep our eyes peeled. We should definitely keep our eye on Ekstrom, and
I'm keeping my one eye on Ekstrom, yeah.
Okay, and then I'll hopefully Balroth and and Jai will stay out of trouble.
Damn, you guys are making me not talk out loud, are you?
Prefer.
Remember, we agreed since I'm like whispering into people's heads, I'm mute.
So, Sen, you at this
Yes.
point would realize that the ticket calculations are off, which we discussed in the Discord. There are 5 seating tickets for the mezzanine, and there's one ticket that appears to be in a VIP private booth, which would have been Melissa Montule's individual ticket. The other
Yes.
tickets were basically the fodder tickets that would have been given out to the guy you murdered and other people. That said, you do see that Terry and Namalia have kind of grouped up near the position that you're at. Standing right beside you are 2 individuals. One appears to be a holy swordsman, or Atavian knight, if you will. Paladin for shorthand. Standing next to a woman who is wearing a skin-tight leather bodysuit. She has kind of bluish hair, and at the top of her skin-tight leather bodysuit in kind of like a cloak-like fashion is just a mass of black crow feathers. She has spikes kind of jutting out of the bodysuit at specific points on the bodysuit, and I'll get you a picture of her in a moment. But the Holy Swordman is really nondescript. He's just a guy he's just a guy. And then
Just a guy.
south of
The
that,
guy, my dude.
south of that, kind of in between you and Aveline's group, is a priest. Appears to be a priest of Aloing.
Okay.
Obviously, regrouping is important, so ticket dispensal can happen. But whichever word that starts with a D and means the thing I mean. I'm having enough, you guys.
Dispersing?
Disperse. Yeah.
Dispersing.
Dispense.
Distribution.
Dispensing.
Distribution.
Distribution.
Yes. All of them honestly work.
I knew it was a D word.
Yay, Zach.
All right.
Sorry.
No, I see it. Handle it. Very, very cool. But yeah, I'll get you now for the purposes of clarity. In the picture that I have of her, it does look like there's blood coming off of her lips. Most people try to say that, oh, that means she's a vampire. Do not acknowledge that at all. It's just simply the art. It's very much specific towards a certain moment in time, and it's the only art I have of her. But yeah, that's what she looks like.
Wow, she looks great.
She just
She's
seems to be
cool.
annoyed. And her Holy Swordsman seems to be kind of on edge.
We'll go talk to her. See how she is.
Swordsman kind of steps in between you and her before you kind of approach. You see him kind of like reach for the hilt of his sword, and she kind of looks at you. What?
Oh, I just came over to tell you that compliment you on your outfit.
Compliment taken. Sorry, I am in really no mood to talk. I am expecting to speak with an individual who has yet to approach me.
Oh.
Not make the social mistake of approaching someone unexpected. And she kind of pointedly stares at you.
Fair enough. Well, you can take my compliment, and I will go then.
As you're walking away, it
Shove
seems,
it.
it seems like
Just
it seems like the Holy Swordsman kind of follows you away from her, and as he's kind of like getting out of earshot, you see him kind of lean towards you and say, "Sorry, she's in a mood. She's normally very cordial. Apologies." And then kind of turns back.
I can suggest alcohol.
He kind of stops for a second. He kind of like raises his hands and says, "I've tried. She won't take it until she meets with her father.
Who is she looking for?
Can you do me a favor? Can you points over across the way? You see him point towards the captain, who is literally on like the kind of south side, up on the high steps. That tabaxi there. If you could have him come and speak with Lady Vester as soon as possible, post haste, that would be
of course, we're besties. I'll let him know.
Great. And he kind of steps back, and you see her kind of like slap him across the face, which kind of draws stares from people nearby. And then she kind of like leans in and kind of focuses in on him. And you're keen enough to understand that she's telepathically scolding him.
Yeah. I'll handle this. So in that case, and Captain is the one over here, right? These are refreshments? Okay, so we're gonna go this way to the refreshments, grab a little nibble, and then notice, oh hey, there's the captain again, because I think that we talked to him last.
He was one of the main people that you spoke to last session,
Yes.
and you get over to him, and he's still talking to the ladies who, you can see are, mostly younger and kind of appear to just kind of be possibly related to some of the other individuals here, or, are their consorts, or, just left to the side, and the captain is very much taking advantage of the situation by having a great time talking to them, giggling, and flirting. He's flirting. He is very much flirting.
He deserves it.
Sees you approaching and says, "Sen, I've got a transatlantic accent."
Remember, transatlantic.
That's what I got. Just like last time. Oh, it's going a little bit British. Oops. Okay. Well, all right. What can I help you with?
Well, I was just coming back over to say hello, and that there is a lady over on the other side of the ballroom.
Yes, Lady Vester, of course.
Yeah.
She came all the way out here from Bellum, all the way to the west, and is probably really annoyed that I haven't come to talk to her yet. Well, unfortunately, she seems to be in a mood, and I don't particularly like dealing with people who are on edge. You have been asked by her or her manservant to come and ask me to speak to her? So it must be desperate then. She must be really poorly. All right, well...
She wouldn't even take a compliment.
I will handle it. Thank you, Sen. Not a problem. Stands up, apologizes to the women. One of them is kind of like doing the swooning, kind of pining sound, which I cannot mimic, as he's... Yeah, that. As he is leaving, and he heads over to speak to them. If you try to follow, he kind of will shoo you off. But
no, we're not following.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's too important for
okay.
For our taste. Apologizing to the ladies, and then
okay,
kind of going back around,
Sure.
nibbling, because we have a plate now.
Certainly. Yeah, we kind of circle back around to the original group. So Jai and Belroth, I know that you're currently going through some things. Zach? Yes? Zach is having computer complications. Not really complications, more like
Setting up a whole new day computer.
awesome occasions. Cool time, fun times. So we will then...
Okay, I'm sorry. I am here. I am here, and I think I can participate now.
Perfect.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Absolutely not a problem.
Okay.
But yeah, did you come up with the idea of what you were going to say next to Hadrian?
Oh my God.
It was so long ago.
You know how many other things I've said since then?
Well, I certainly don't want Belroth to be kind of muted in this situation. Again, it does seem like Belroth isn't going to try and be social or anything, but if there's anything that's been said or anything that you'd be curious to kind of interject, I mean, don't hesitate.
No, he
Yeah,
just
please.
makes vague facial expressions when he's like, "Oh, my brother doesn't talk much," and he's like, okay. Like, no, he's just standing there looking shiny and pretty.
Absolutely. And I figured that'd pretty much be the case. So, Zach, back to you. I tried.
I'm sorry.
No such luck? Okay. That's fine. So back to Namalia and Terry. Namalia, what's your passive perception?
It's pretty good. It is 18.
Okay. You would notice that the place that you were in, there was another person that you noticed, but only just. A woman with blonde hair, flowers in her hair, kind of a beautiful blue dress, who's just kind of standing alone at a table. She appears to have a tall fluted kind of glass. Yep, her up there. And it looks like she is kind of just by herself. You're perceptive enough to realize that she is watching the entirety of the room, and very like detailed kind of perception on her end, but she doesn't seem to be drawing attention to herself. You think you might be the first person throughout the entirety of the night that's noticed her.
It's like funny. I can't think of anything.
You have the amazing
that
perception.
Wouldn't be really awkward. Like as the woman is like looking around, Malia will like make eye contact and be like,
take a picture and it'll last longer.
Finger guns.
Exactly. Like, hey.
I see you.
Okay. Are you so you're gonna do kind of like a gesture to kind of acknowledge that you notice that she sees you. Okay.
Also, I think also Namalia would be looking, and I don't know, this like hall seems to be full of people who are very like they're there to pop, right, and to be seen.
Yes.
So I think Namalia would also want to be on the lookout for people that aren't popping, people that are looking to like kind of fade into the background. It sounds like she is.
If she weren't in the shadows of like where she's standing, if she wasn't just off to the side, if she were standing out in the middle of the ballroom, she would probably draw a lot of attention to herself. She's gorgeous, and she is very well dressed. It just seems like she's kind of keeping to herself, and no one's approached her.
And she's making a choice to be out to the side.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely also like a very kind of calculating vibe from her. It looks like she's looking around the room, kind of gauging everyone. She's people watching. She's probably commenting in her mind about it, and having a good time doing that. She's one of those jerks.
I do have a question.
Shoot.
So if Belroth is looking at this head, you said it looks kind of waxy.
Yeah.
But like he's gonna be looking at the neck part of it.
Sure. So you will note that it appears that he kind of has it tucked under his arm a bit, and it looks like there might be some sort of cloth kind of draped around the neck portion. If you'd like, you could make an investigation roll.
Sure, why not? This is what we're here for. Investigate severed heads.
That's not why you're here, though.
So you're kind of looking at the situation, and you're not sure that it's anything like real. You're not 100% certain. You can't get a vibe for it. But as you're kind of looking at the head and kind of focusing more on it, as Jai and Hadrian are having this conversation back and forth, and you're not really paying attention to it. You're kind of staring at the head, kind of looking at the stump. Kind of very obviously, very clearly doing this, and you look directly into its face. And its eyes shift and look into your eyes.
Nope. He like immediately gets awkward and like looks up, like
away
he's
from
just like
Jai. Just nope. Kind of moves away from them a little bit, like yeah.
It's just like find something else to look at.
Hadrian doesn't seem to notice. Jai. Where were we?
Oh man.
He's still computering.
Sorry,
I understand.
I think I've got it working. I might have just screwed up your boxes for the camera though.
I was prepared for you.
Sweet. Then do I notice Belroth like
You notice Belroth is awkward, but when has he not been?
You're not wrong. So I guess Hadrian, the last thing we said was like he pointed out his friends that he had come with, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll gesture to them and say,
yeah, he points to the Sarajusian male across the way.
Right. Do you mind introducing?
He seems to be busy talking to that individual there. I can't remember the name that he said that he had. I know Kronosov, but I don't know the other individual. And when he says Kronosov, he seems to be pointing at the Kenku. And for those of you who are not familiar with Kenku are basically raven people. The Kroven. But I don't remember the name of that other guy. Gesturing towards the human male who appears to be dressed similarly to Leaf in the kind of garb and stylings of the Dragon Isles.
That's okay. I can make introductions myself, but thanks anyway.
Oh, yes, feel free. Absolutely. Yes, if we're sitting close to one another in the show, I hope you enjoy it. Well, I hope you enjoy it regardless whether your proximity to me and my brother. Sorry. And you see him.
Where are you seated?
I'm up on the mezzanine. I'm on the I believe the right wing. See 1 or 2 in the first column. I don't. He kind of pulls out his ticket and looks at it, and you realize at this moment you don't have your ticket. Sen has all the tickets.
Oh, right.
And he kind of looks at his ticket and he goes, "Yeah," and he shows you it. And had you had your ticket, you would know he's sitting across the aisle from your group.
Okay.
Or from a portion of your group.
And that's where Jai goes, well, didn't design pockets on these outfits, and I just couldn't find a bag that matched, so I have my tickets with someone else, but I'm sure we're close. If we don't see you, then I hope you enjoy the show.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
And if not, perhaps we'll touch base during intermission.
So, before they part, Balrog's just like, so you just got the one ticket?
Yes.
I mean,
okay.
That's a good point.
You see him kind of smile for myself, and then he pulls out a second ticket from the cloth, and you see him hold it up. I have a seat for my brother as well.
Smart man.
Balrog just does the okay.
All right.
Nods and then just follows Jai.
I imagine Jai hooks his arm and then leads
more like a
Balrog
And
away. Just okay, it's starting to get weird.
Let's go, dummy. Let's
You're
go.
asking questions.
Creepy mafia boss alone, please.
Oh,
Go.
God.
Okay. And you're heading over to the other party members, or are you heading over to?
No, I'm heading to the human.
Okay. As you're getting close, the human seems to be explaining something in very great detail, and you can tell that the Sarajusian male is smiling and listening and nodding, but you can easily kind of see past that facade and understand that he is just humoring the man. And it looks like the Kenku is kind of just pouring more alcoholic beverage into her beak. As the conversation continues. And out of character, I just want to make sure this is clear. If you've ever met Dan Young and have ever had Dan Young explain something to you, Zach, that is what you're listening to as your approach.
So Jai is going to actually approach the Kenku, who
Oh, she says as she kind of sees you approach and kind of moves off to the side and kind of smiles. Jai, it starts with an M, does it not? Your last name? And kind of moves away from the group, and you see John kind of go, I'm sorry, name drop. Oops, didn't mean to do it. You see the Sarajusian male kind of look to the left with a smile on his face, and then look back to the man and just seems to stay locked in this as Kronosov escapes with you over to the side. And she says, Jai, Melit, what's your last name again?
Maknos.
I've seen you about the town, have I not?
Oh, I've been performing a lot, especially this last week. If you've been staying at
Well, I've only been in the city for the last month or two, and I think, yeah, the Sweet Misery is somewhere I've frequented.
been there several times.
I mostly go in disguise. She says that she taps her hat.
Smart. What are you drinking?
Well, whatever they have on offer, she says. And she kind of starts moving like closer to like away from them. As you're moving kind of towards where she's following, you do move past the captain who's talking to this woman, and you can see that he is very much kind of, you know, bowing and being very gracious and being very complimentary and like he's just apologizing over and over again. She seems to be flustered at first, and then she seems to be kind of like forming to a more kind of mutual, grounded level conversation as you're moving past them. What you hear in the dynamic is if your Mardigan family is going to be maneuvering around in my city, I'm going to need more direct context with your true leadership. This Raya individual is not sufficient. I need better connections. And you kind of move past them and away. And Kronosov is like, thank you so much. You really have no idea how horrible that was.
Oh, reading social cues is a bit of a specialty of mine. So, you say you've been in the city for about a month?
Yes, I come from Mudis, to the west. I was running a small bit of trade through the town of Mudis, but ever since we heard that the Iron Road would be moving through there, we really haven't done much to complement the old methods of trade. And from what I understand, a lot of the Iron Road is going to be heading this way and up to Valens to the north. So it's my goal rather, to connect with merchants such as Jun, gestures over to the Saryujan mail, and new individuals like that gentleman, who have connections outside and afar, especially here in the city, that us and Mudis can connect with, and hopefully not have to deal with our connections gesturing towards Lady Vester in the larger cities.
I see. It seems like fun work. Always love meeting new people.
It's certainly work, it says. And about that time, somebody with like a tray of, flutes of like alcoholic beverages kind of stops by. She takes one.
Roth takes two.
Balroth grabs two.
Double fisting.
John, you got one as well?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. Shift from that to let's go back to Aveline, who we haven't actually touched on this entire section. I've been all horrible to you. But Aveline, you've kind of been seeing the situation maneuver. Nogue kind of like, is not really talking too much. And Vasher, the Dragonborn, I believe at the end of last session, was kind of starting to ask a bit about your travels. And then he kind of stops in the midst of, you kind of talking and says, I am familiar that you happen to be involved with, were affiliated with a group of individuals that dealt with a town known as Prosser to the west. Couple of grand heroes from the region known as Nodder Razorclaws and Hero Rockscale, I believe. Are you familiar with them? Are you part of their company? Nogue says that might be so.
Yeah, I knew them pretty well. They're friends of mine. Well, one of them still is. The other one, unfortunately,
passed away.
She just kind of like looks down. Yeah, we can say that.
Oh. Interesting. I've only heard tales from what's come out of Prosser regarding the bear folks' very capable handling of the corrupt curios in the region. It seems that there was a breaching of old treaty there, and this has been very interesting to me. It's also been very interesting to a couple of the houses that I do some work for, namely House Sereda, but also gestures towards Nogue. House, I always forget the house that the gnome is a part of, and I feel sad for it every time I do. House Calivor. and I would be very interested to meet with them at some point. Nogue says, that will be most likely impossible with everything that's been going on at Siford's Pass. I seriously doubt anyone will be making their way out to the lands of Tar or beyond to go and meet with bear folk or the town of Prosser. Nogue kind of nods and looks to you. I believe our selected destination for you was close to Siford's Pass. Did you hear anything about what has happened there? Lady Aveline.
She's like kind of thinking like whether or not she should just talk about it or just kind of, yeah, she's gonna act like she doesn't know. Just like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Vasher kind of looks to you and says, well, interesting that you've been near there. I do have a current sortie docket on my desk back at my office that is set to go and investigate the matters at Siford's Pass. It may be a 6th day before I muster a complement that would be worthy of doing such a task. But the couple of refugees that I have been coordinating with, one a beholderkin who goes by Peepers, and burly drunkard of a fellow, I can't remember his name. But yes, Peepers was very capable in elucidating exactly what they saw, a necromancer and some demon queen. Hopefully we'll be able to go to the matter with clear eyes and hopefully recover the sword of Siford. That would be very important and necessary, especially for House Calibor. He kind of gestures to Nogue, and Nogue kind of shakes his head. Not for House Calibor. No. Absolutely, we would not be keeping that weapon. That's insane. We would be giving it over to the Montule. Makes the most sense. They're the keepers of the records. And artifacts such as this. And then you see Vash kind of... No, I would say that it would probably be better in the hands of House Aluster. If I were to go and recover it, I would hope that either your house or the complementary issuer of the sortie would be willing to bestow it upon them instead. Nogue seems to be kind of flustered by that, shakes his head, looks over to you. Well, and then you can see that at about that point, the music kind of stops, and you hear Nathan kind of stand up, turn to the others inside of the hall, and speak very loudly. 30 minutes! 30 minutes until we will begin the show. If you wish to take your seat, please do so. Doors will be closed 2 minutes prior to start time, so make sure you are within your seats. Before then, I hope you enjoy this production of The Three Sisters, an original opera, and enjoy. But please, do make haste if you have seats that are upstairs or beyond. And kind of moves past people, kind of whispering, chatting, and the like, and moves towards the doors, kind of breaching past them. Immediately upon him going through, the doors are kind of left open. You would note that most of the people in the company that was kind of up near the door start moving in. You see a woman kind of come to the top of the steps. This woman has kind of silvery hair, horns of a tiefling, ears of an elf, and wings of a demon on her back. They aren't spread open, they're kind of like held tight, but her dress seems to kind of complement the shape of it. And she kind of has a very ornate but very foreign style to her. It is very much old elvish, very much Dragon Isles. She kind of steps out to the top of the steps, looks down, and kind of stares in the direction of the man that was speaking to the smiling Saryujan Jun, and then turns and looks towards Leaf, and the two of them, just as if they were kind of compelled, move towards her and head into the hall with her. Ekstrom certainly goes inside, as do a number of these people who are kind of up here at the top of the steps. Going from left to right again, doesn't look like everyone's clearing out yet, especially not Kronosov. So Zakis, we cut back to Jai and Belroth. You would note that Kronosov is still muscling through the flute of alcoholic beverage that she was given by the server. I believe Belroth is working through his two, sorry. And then what about you, Jai?
I imagine I'm mostly done with that. I mean, it's one champagne flute.
Yeah.
And I'm probably like looking to try and find Sen because they have our tickets.
Yep. So easy enough. The two of you move towards Sen, who's coming back down the steps, I'm assuming, to the main ball kind of area. Okay. Aveline, it feels like as that's kind of happening, and again, you'd be well aware you don't have your ticket, but it feels like Basher and Nog are kind of trying to like just incorporate you into their group and are slowly starting to move that direction. And they're kind of trying to go, like, they're talking, so it feels like you're kind of socially compelled to stay with them. What would you like to do in response?
I want to let them know that I need to get my ticket and kind of excuse myself.
Oh, of course. Apologies. Yeah, we will see you within. And they kind of...
She just kind of like swiftly walks over to Sen, like, help me.
Okay. As you are all kind of grouping, Terry and Namalia, you see that the group is kind of like in the center of the dance floor, basically, just kind of grouping up. And you can see that Sen's pulling out all of the tickets. And Terry, you kind of get over there as well. And it's at this point, Sen, you would reveal to the group the situation.
So we have 6 tickets. 5 together. But 1 is a box seat.
Ooh. Well,
And that's where...
as much as I love how good we look together, hon.
But
He's just like tapping the hand in his arms. Like,
could you imagine
to leave.
going on a plane and like your significant other getting upgraded to like first class while you're in charge?
And they're just like deuces.
Okay, but there's some like horror stories on Reddit though.
Sure.
okay, but like, can I tell you guys that
Later.
I may or may not have gone to a Blink-182 and Lil Wayne concert and got upgraded to pit seats from the GA and totally left my partner to go party with her sister-in-law in the pit. Party with my sister-in-law in the pit. Left my wife in the back. She had fun.
Well,
as long as she had fun, she'd be friends.
Yeah, my brother was back there with her. I just went with Alyssa up to the front.
Fair.
It's fine. It's fine.
Aveline
wasn't
really
gonna send Alyssa into the pit by herself.
Aveline would like
That's just dangerous.
She's actually really interested in the fancy seats, but she doesn't want to outwardly seem like it.
No, I mean, sorry.
I mean, they're all fancy seats. That's the thing. It's just that the box is also where
the box
Ekstrom may
feels like
be,
a trap.
because that's also, this is Melissa Montalet's ticket.
So you would know that that's probably going to be up there with Ekstrom.
Yes.
She just wants to sit in the fancy seat.
I mean, I'm like the littlest guy here, so I don't want to risk sitting down in the main area and the bigger guy.
The
tickets that we have are front row on the balcony.
So I'm going to go ahead, and since you aren't really able to enter, but you can kind of see into the room. This is going to take a while to load because there's a lot going on here.
Oh my gosh.
It was
HD graphics.
It was a lot worse because I actually... and I want to make sure you understand how depressing this was. I went and grabbed a bunch of the NPC like tokens and filled out all of the seats.
Did that break it?
I could not do anything. So I just needed all of the tokens.
So these are all like filled.
Yeah, so these are all
theory.
filled. Your seats, if you look at the kind of like mezzanine position, there's like 5 seats to the left side that are there.
The box isn't on this map at all.
The box is directly above the steps that you'd be entering in. It will be on the map.
So it'll be like that.
Yes, it's like directly above those steps that you're coming in on.
So Namalia has zero interest on being up in that box with a bunch of like highfalutin city fools. So she'll kind of like look to Balroth to be like her buddy in this. I feel like they're kind of in a similar situation, maybe.
Yeah, he'd say something stupid and get thrown off the balcony.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, so you two get your ticket.
Yay!
Okay.
Maybe.
So again, the situation as you understand it, you would have seen some people kind of moving up towards like the box areas. Ekstrom was obviously one of them.
Yes.
It looked like the woman with the demon wings and one of her compatriots, the noble merchant guy, were going kind of the same direction. She had another elf besides Leaf that was with her, who's up there talking at the top there, who is going with Leaf to another kind of balcony seat. And it looks like the red-headed guy and his two battle maidens are heading to another of the boxes, balcony sections. So like you have the balcony, the main VIP balcony, which is directly above where you're currently standing. And then there are two kind of smaller balconies that are kind of at a lower tier to the right and left of that.
Mm-hmm. So,
Well, if we can't decide between us, maybe we should draw straws.
Jai, are you wanting to be up on the balcony?
or are you wanting the box?
Roll a d4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super picky about it. I just, any chance to rub elbows is one that Jai is going to take just because he's a face and a bard and that's what he does.
Right. Sin's main concern is that we need information from Ekstrom, because this was a gift of sorts from Lady Montalais. And honestly, I figured that like strategy wise, like out of character, either Jai or Sin would probably be the most likely to get the most amount of information.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Well, if that's explained, then Aveline
Yeah.
will understand.
yeah.
You wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like it.
Well, and then
Don't
I'm-
put an
I'm
argument
used to-
against it.
No, it's okay. I'm used to be in the peasant seat anyway.
These
Well,
are
no,
peasant
like-
seats.
well, and then there's the
These are
isn't
like
there-
lord and lady
So-
seats. The box seats are like,
Stephanie,
So-
Aveline will be there in spirit.
Well, and didn't Aveline approach Ekstrom in the guise of being a servant about dropping something or whatever?
Delivering a message, yeah.
Yeah.
A letter.
So,
and then Terry ran.
Terry's also a good deceptionist, kind of conversationalist,
Mhm.
and is also keen at that.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah,
there
but
are
does Sen trust Terry to report back all of the information?
and Sen has. the
He
ticket.
also took the oh god, my brain. That
So are you pushing?
Potion.
Listen,
thing.
listen, I'm not.
I have that in my bag.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm not saying that I might be the best one to sit up there, but I mean, let's just say I know how to rub elbows with the
Fancy that.
Is it
wealthy and
because you're-
powerful.
Is it because you're about elbow high?
Shots fired.
Pew pew pew.
Just staring up at her like,
So
I'm
Namalia,
sitting here like this,
Yeah.
like,
Namalia will be like already in her seat, and then we'll be like listening, and then as soon as like Terry's like, I can go up there in it, like turn her head and look at everyone and like not telepathically, but we'll give that impression of like
no. Okay, so Sen, obviously it's going to be either you or Jai, just depending on how you want this to play out. So, it's your choice ultimately, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm honestly, and Jai would probably leave it up to Sen too. Like, I can go up and get the information for you. I'm great at doing that sort of shit, but like, if you want to handle it yourself, because you know, by all means, I'm not going to fight John, and I'm happy to enjoy it from the mezzanine.
You would know. You would absolutely know Jai is better at conversation than you, and you also know that he's trustworthy enough. He will report everything back.
Yeah, that's why I was
thinking
Jai.
On the opposite side of that, if shit does go south, you would probably be better to get away from shit. Except that Jai is also pretty teleporty and could probably do likewise. So
I'm just gonna jump out of the box and float down.
I can fly.
Yeah.
It's true.
So it sounds like Jai. Go ahead, sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
I can teleport.
No one wants you up there.
Meanwhile, picture, if you will, Belroth trying to sit in his chair like an adult sitting at the kindergarten table. He's just like, all right.
I would assume from like the Namalia and Sen kind of regulating Terry out of it. After Aveline basically destroys him like as a being by basically just, height shaming him.
If you take him down any more notches, we won't be able to see him.
The sentence doesn't even get to be said. That is not fair.
She's usually the shortest, so she's going to take an opportunity to dig at the shortest.
That is fair.
The two of you will kind of head back, and then Jai and Sen. So, Elizabeth, are you handing the ticket over to Sen then? Or sorry, to Jai then?
Jai, yes.
Okay. All right, Jai.
As he takes the ticket, what Jai will say to you, so what do you want to know?
Well, we need to know what happened to Ashuna. What's the end goal? Because clearly he's connected to the stuff that's going on. And I lost the other note. I tried to prepare for this. But we mainly just need to know what his end goal is, because he was connected with the red daggers. Is that right?
Yep, definitely.
Okay. I've been slowly converting my notes into like a fancy thing, but yeah, basically we need to know what his end game is.
Not
and also
the
what happened to
easiest
Ashuna.
question to ask, but
I mean,
what's your ultimate goal in life?
So where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
So the secret plan you've got going on, can you tell it to me?
At least like gather as much information if he knows anything about like the stuff going on at Sifford's past that we found out about, like that sort of thing.
Okay. Perfect. So at about that point, you kind of pass out the tickets, walk up to the ticket master, hand over your tickets, move over to your seats. Namali has already gone through this process. Belroth, I assume, would have been next, kind of through the gate, and then Terry and Aveline, kind of one of them crestfallen, one of them just in static I am better than you mode, moving over to the seats. Sen kind of last after kind of handing the ticket and giving the mission over to Jai. Jai, you are told that you're going to be heading up this way, head up the steps. As you make your way around, pass by the first curtain. The second curtain will be the curtain that you'll enter into. And it's about that point when Jai kind of starts making that movement that the house lights dim.
As the opera is beginning, Namalia will take out like out of her purse like a little candy and offer one to the captain and one to Aveline, like little wrapped hard candy, but except it tastes like salty fish sauce. You pop it in your mouth.
Oh God.
Honestly, I'd eat it.
Oh my God, we're wedging Belroth in the middle.
You start hearing purring coming from the seat next to you.
Yes.
And the captain goes, "You got any more?" Like
Namalia
juicy eyes, just like very focused on you. It's like,
you got the crack, you got the goods.
Aveline's just thinking like, this isn't the worst thing I've had, but it's not candy.
But yeah, that said, Jai, as you make your way up there, I don't know what that red dragon is. Oh, yeah, that's the current placeholder for that. I'm sorry, bear with me here. My computer's being very slow, but you kind of enter into it. You can see that there are a total of 5 seats. It does appear that to the right side, you see Lady Alcantara, who would have been kind of explained to you a bit by Leaf. She is familiar to you as a player, but for the narrative, she's a lord from the Elanche Enclave of the Dragon Isles, who is a refugee here in Nock and is slowly making her way in good graces with the nobility therein, and here in Nock. And the noble sitting next to her is Alvin, her merchant lord, and basically the one who is operationally capable of maneuvering everyone and her people to this place. To the left side, you can see that Ekstrom is sitting in the seat that is closest to the door, and then there's an open seat to the left, which is, according to your ticket, your marked seat. There's also apparently kind of like a master seat, kind of settled there, and as you kind of step in through the curtain and kind of look and see that Ekstrom's kind of sitting there, see that Alvin's sitting to the right, and Lady Alcantara's sitting to the right as well, you feel a presence behind you, like someone's coming up behind you, and you hear a voice say, "Excuse me, I'm sitting right there." And as you kind of turn to look at this gentleman, you see a man in a brilliant red cape, pale flesh, appears to be wearing a crown made out of twigs or thorns.
Oh no.
He has kind of bright red eyes, and he's kind of looking at you, and you can almost detect that there's fangs next to him. Standing to his left is Aveline. Out of character, Stephanie, not you.
That's all I got.
According to Jai, Aveline is standing right next to this man. It's wearing Aveline appears to be wearing something totally different than the last time you saw her,
which was moments ago.
Yeah.
And unless she's some sort of bard who's taken the quick change spell, there's no way she could have gotten out of the dress she was in.
Well, I'm aware
in,
that Aveline is a Warforged, so
Yeah.
there could be more clones of her. So it's not,
Right.
It's startling, but not reality breaking.
Correct.
Okay.
Loud sweating.
Belroth wants candy.
Move aside from him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My apologies. And I like step to the side and almost like...
For cinematic purposes, he sits. She stands near the curtain. She does not enter in. She appears to be much more kind of doll-like than Aveline. Aveline has like a certain humanity to her, whereas this one feels very much more robotic. When he sits down, you can see his hand kind of perch over the side of the chair, and he places his ticket down onto the small table next to his chair. You can see that it has been specifically made for him. Like, it is not like your ticket. It is not like the other tickets. And you can see that his name written out on it is Golthias Toraner, guest of Endemon Toraner. Admit 1.
Why would you do this to me, John?
Imagine if you'd gone up there.
No.
Whoa!
Okay. Jai is going to just kind of non-discreetly take his seat because I'm assuming the lights went down and
Yep.
orchestra is starting to tune all that bullshit.
Correct. And Ekstrom kind of gives you a look. Nothing like untoward, nothing scary or anything crazy, but just gives you a noticed look. And as you kind of take your seat,
Is there any recognition on any of their faces as I go to seat?
No, Ekstrom will kind of lean over the table towards you and say, "What of Melissa Montalais?"
She won't be joining us this evening. She
Interesting.
has shared her ticket with me.
We were supposed to have a discussion. This is very unfortunate. And you are?
My name is Jai Maknos.
Name is familiar. You are.
Head of...
You're local, are you not? You're a singer yourself, are you not?
I am. I've been in Nock for some time. I'm sure you've either heard me or heard of me.
Are you Are you the individual who's been lying with Lady Montoulet as of late, and that's why she gave you the ticket?
Oh,
I'm not so lucky, but we are acquaintances.
Very fair. He kind of smiles a toothy grin and kind of turns his attention back out past the balcony. Yeah, the music, as you did mention, is starting to kind of come up. You see an individual kind of wearing dark attire. No lights are drawn up, but you can see kind of a silhouette of a figure step out onto the stage. The music's very light, very whimsical, very much drawn towards like catching the attention of the theater, the audience. And this silhouetted individual speaks. Those of you who are familiar with kind of Nokian presentation and Osirian presentation, this individual is known as the Narrator from the Beyond. And they're basically a storyteller who will tell the story before the story is told. And as he lays out the tale, he explains, this story, a story of three sisters, not sisters by blood, but instead sisters by mind, is to be told in three parts with a fitting conclusion as they meet under the darkest of moons. The first part of our story relates to a great woman, a warrior hero named Irith Granfaloon. She was a servant to others and desired her own will and autonomy. It was not granted her. Though she tried to pull herself above her station, she was drawn back. Battle after battle was fought, and each time she won. Ultimately, hers is a story of patricide. Hers is a story of selfishness. Hers is a story of desire, as are the others. But her desire was for a freedom that cannot be attained when bound by family. The lights cut. The music remains the same. The silhouetted figure can be seen kind of leaving the stage as the lights come up a little bit. And you see that they kind of focus in. If I can make it happen, oh man, this would be so great if my computer was amazing. And the internet was also good. I had it all queued and set up, and it worked well without me streaming.
You're good.
Do it. The woman that's presented on stage, in the light, a bluish kind of light, almost like an evening sunlight. She is blonde. She wears the armor of a Aetan knight, but you can see, Belroth specifically can see that this is very much a theatrical kind of set of armor. It is not armor that would function by any stretch of the imagination.
He's frowning.
Fake. It's not even realistic. Where's the blood? She steps out into the light and she looks out to the crowd. Her eyes appear to be kind of purposefully kind of sorrowful, like she is in a state of loss. And she begins to sing. I'm not going to try and sing this part. But the song that she starts to sing basically outlines the story that some of you might know due to historical context of Irith Granfaloon. A knight, a Aetan by all stretches of the imagination, a servant of the elves, a warrior who fought alongside some of the greatest soldiery through the Grey War and into the Age of Gods. And she basically outlines her story in song as it was laid out before you. At about this moment, Ekstrom kind of leans over to Jai and says, "Did she give you the ticket personally?"
She did.
And that it just seems to be kind of a weird question, and you see him kind of like turn his head and kind of look off to this, the scene again. Just like a rude question from the person sitting next to you. You can follow up on it if you want, or pay attention to the scene.
Is there anything you'd like to say to me? I am happy to report back to the lady. We can converse.
He looks back to you and says, "I believe my business with her is mostly concluded. I simply had a desire to coordinate with her regarding an annoyance that has arisen. I don't know how familiar you are with the situation regarding the Kengo."
I have some information, perhaps not as much as you, but what seems to be the annoyance, if you will?
Their blade-blooded has been taken once again by my cohorts. She is a nuisance, and it appears that the Martington family is trying to acquire her for some reason I do not know of. Tell Lady Montalais I do not wish to be a part of this any longer. I've had my fun. I wish to be moving about, especially with current situations unfolding as they seem to. And you see him kind of look over towards Golthias, and then kind of turn and look back to you.
That look, can
Anger,
I infer any?
absolute
Okay.
hostility. Like he does
Okay.
not like Golthias.
Mm-hmm.
And you're perceptive enough to realize too that as he's making that look, Aveline is watching him.
Okay. But like in a protective guard drone sort of look.
Almost
Not
as
like
if
any.
almost as if she's just like perceptive and paying attention to it. I mean, very similar to how Aveline does. Like she seems to just be kind of focused on the conversation. Am I saying it wrong?
No, no.
No,
Yes,
he is.
I see what you did. Okay. Lion. Like. Anyway, I get it. Hilarious. Sorry, my brain did a thing. But yeah.
So, when you say you want to get out, what exactly are you looking for? Are you looking to leave?
I have more pressing matters in the capital, and my business here is long since transpired, but unfortunately my bounds to House Montalais have kept me here. If you're acting as her liaison, you should already know this, but I assume she's kept it close to the chest on my behalf, so, well, bounty to her. That said, I wish to be done with this, and I wish for you to tell your mistress that that is the case, so I can be on with my business in the capital. An upstart mage has caused some issues in the lands near the capital, and I wish to deal with them.
That does sound more pressing.
Be sure. The scene continues on, and as she's kind of singing, she kind of steps back a few steps, and the curtains kind of very quickly kind of move in front of her. It seems that she came to a point where in the narrative, or in the song that she was singing, that she was preparing herself to come to blows with her own father. due to the limitations that had been set upon her. And again, I'm just having some delays here. It's not going as smoothly as I'd hoped. Thanks, Roll20.
What would I roll to see if Belroth is crying a single tear?
Wisdom save. Or charisma save.
This is gonna be shit. Okay.
What'd you get?
Sucked it back in. 21.
Now, do you
Nat
feel
20.
do you feel like the story that's being kind of described here would be something that Belroth would be sympathetic to?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
I would
think so.
say that 21 isn't so much that you are not affected by it. It's more of a you're not literally dropping, those tears here in front of everyone. It's hitting emotionally, but you're kind of like sucking, the and the kind of the kind of like
Sucking it back in.
Right.
stoic facing.
Yeah.
When the curtains reopen, the scene has changed, and it's changing, I swear, on everything. I promise you. And oh my god. This could be going so much smoother.
Ooh, pretty.
It appears she's now kind of stepping out from the curtains as they're opening, and kind of like moving out from beyond what appears to be kind of like a field or some sort of kind of place out and beyond. Aveline, you immediately recognize the backdrop, though. An unnerving kind of like, if shivers could run down your spine, they would. They absolutely can run down Sen's, though. But in the background, you can see that the silhouette of Castle Toriner is present. The Castle of Gulfias is present in the backdrop beyond. And you would note that she's stepping out, kind of moving to kind of the middle of the stage. She appears to be holding something in her hand and kind of holding it up above her, kind of starting into the next kind of pitch of this song. This song is much more kind of upbeat, more kind of filled with pacing to it. And it would appear that the main subject matter that she's relaying has to do with the fact that she just killed her father, and she seeks to move herself to a place where she can be alone, where she can be protected. In her hand, besides the ornamental kind of head, in her other hand, she carries a broad-bladed spear, and kind of raises it up. I would say if you're trained in history, you can make a history check at this point.
Oh, right. The character sheet's not.
Yeah, the other thing you would note too is that it seems that by some sort of artifice or magic, an obscuring fog has been kind of let loose upon the stage to kind of like slowly kind of cover and hover around the stage to kind of make the scene even more kind of distressing. The history checks. Are we having problems with Roll20?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't. I'm trying. Hold on.
No worries. I'm also having issues with Roll20 tonight. Seems to be global, not just me. So that's good. That's a plus.
Powerful.
It's loading.
I believe you.
I'm waiting.
I'll just assume you know it. That's fine. So the spear that she's holding is what's known as a Bitterheart spear, which you would note is the iconic weaponry of the Bitterheart tribes, which, again, you would be familiar with having traveled into the mists and beyond. You would know that the Bitterhearts were a people that, in this region, were kind of the native folk of the Broken Blade Coast, and have been able to traverse the lands into the lands of the dead and beyond. She appears to be wielding one of their spears with her father's head in her hand. And during the song, you hear her basically outline how she did it. And it's very gruesome detail, kind of sung operatically. And then once she's done describing the murder of her father, you see, kind of from behind the from behind the scenery, an individual kind of comes out and steps out onto the stage to kind of meet her. She turns to face him, and they kind of move to positions facing off one another. And he begins singing his ballad, his portion of it. And it basically sounds like this person who has not been introduced to you in the narrative is the father. And based on his attire, which is all white, for those of you who are familiar with theater, would recognize that he is supposed to be the ghost of her father. And he, in his singing, is very accusatory and very hurt. And her reaction in song is remorse. She seems to be saddened by this. And then he stops to her and says, "So then, what do you mean to do moving forward?" And she kind of sadly kind of looks up to him, places her spear down on the ground, and it seems like there's kind of a slot inside of the stage for it, and she falls upon her own spear. There's kind of like a ribbon tossed behind her as she falls. It's like a red ribbon that she throws behind her as she kind of falls onto the spear. And immediately after she's done with this, the man kind of steps out to the front, and from his sleeves or from behind him, he pulls out a mask and places it over his head. It appears to be a fox-headed mask. And he says, in the voice, me trying to sing operatically again, "So it was the first, but not the last would be deceived." I'm terrible at singing. I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't want to do it anymore.
I think it's great. 10 out of 10.
Just made my night. I loved it.
I think you did a good job. Is this character familiar? Are they familiar?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Our friend.
Oh, yes. The cheap one.
After the deception, the fox-headed ghost steps back, and the curtain is closed. But it's closed in such a way that the spear and the woman are kind of left out there. The curtain then opens just slightly, and out comes another actress, a woman with like bright red hair. It looks like it's a wig that's been placed upon her and is very vibrant. The light is kind of popping off of it, making it almost burn in your eyes as you're looking at it. And she kind of reaches down, takes the spear out of its notch and kind of tosses it aside callously. You see a person kind of like a black silhouette, like kind of run over, grab the spear and move it away on stage. But you see her reach down, grab a hold of the lady, and like through a bit of dance, she kind of stands up by the touch, and almost looking as if she were levitated by the touch, and the two of them move back through the curtain. It's shutting kind of with like a bit of a drape. The crowd begins to applaud. And based on your programming, that would be the end of Act 1. And I didn't bring up the tokens that I had ready for it, because switching stuff from GM layer to not GM layer is very difficult. A couple of moments pass, and the curtains open back up to, and again, imagine the room is dark again, and the dark silhouette, the narrator from the void, kind of steps out as I switch the music back. Let's see if that's even possible.
I believe in you, Roll20. I believe in you.
Oh my gosh. Zach's in the chat and he's making fun of me. Not Zach, but Zach.
The other Zach.
It's like there's two Avelines and
I
there's two
wouldn't have gone to
Zacks.
the chat to make fun of you.
Thank you,
You'd at least
Bubby.
do it to your face.
Yeah. Well, Zach, no, real talk. All Zacks would probably make fun of me to my face, but the
He's
narrator,
just not in on the call.
the narrator from the void steps out once again, and the music changes to something a bit more somber. The narrator from the void states, "So it was, in the age of heroes, a woman was born inside of the city of Varhuin, the only walled city of the elves. Her name was Phi, and she was born to be a great priestess of the moon. It was within her capability to do so, to become a great hero. She traveled to this nation's capital and fought against great evils. It was at her hand, with her goddess's power, that she was able to push back the Lich Magier from his position of power and allow for the triumvirate rule of our nation once again. But after the deed was done, she saw what madness filled the mind of her compatriot. She saw what was possible in this world, and she understood that there was nothing that she could do to heal the deep wounds of this place. And madness also took her." The darkness gives way, hopefully. Let's see if it works. God damn it. Ah! Yes? Moon? Lights?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
A woman
Ready.
in priest's garb steps out of the curtains from behind as the curtains open up. And again, we'll see if she shows up or not. She has kind of a short priestess kind of cut out of character. If you're familiar with like Warhammer 40k and the Sisters of Battle, it's kind of like a bob cut, or like a short kind of hime cut. If you're familiar with like fashion,
Anime.
or anime, if you've ever seen animes, she
What is animus? No,
What
she
is
is.
that?
I've never heard of
never
it.
heard of it.
She's wearing priestess robes, and you can see that there are a number of moon markings on her. And you would notice that this is the assemblage of Aloain. But if you're trained in religion, you would also know that this iconography is not just for this goddess, the goddess of life and death, but is actually an older iconography of one of the former Archfey, an individual known as Stasia, who was worshipped as a goddess of the moon. As Phi steps out into the moonlight, and I get rid of Aerith, hopefully, maybe. We'll see if she disappears. Looks like she did on one screen, but the other screen she did not. That's great. But yeah, she steps out and seems to kind of settle to a kneel, kind of place her hands kind of like a praying position. And you can see that a couple of silhouetted individuals are kind of just off of the side of the lights and seem to be kind of moving something. You can see a bit of green smoke kind of billowing into the scene from the sides. She then starts to sing, but in a kind of prayer-like tone. Again, I'm not going to sing it. But the song that she is singing appears to be very much about her upbringing, her preparedness, and how much she was strictly brought into the study and acknowledgement of the aspects of death and the aspects of the waning moon. At about this moment, Jai, Golthias stands up and kind of turns around and starts to head out of the box. It appears that the lie of Aveline remains in the box with you. Do you follow or leave him to go about his way?
Double checking spells. Hold on a second. I don't think I have anything that'll help, but no. Yeah. Let's see if I can't follow him.
Ekstrom stops you with a raise of his hand. Are you moving against him? I will aid you if you are.
That was not my intention at this moment.
All right. And he kind of crosses his arms.
But yeah, I'm gonna try and follow.
Okay. If you step out into the hallway, you are kind of immediately met by there not being any sign of him. You're not exactly sure where he went to or not. Make a perception roll.
23.
You kind of, and then look up, and he's on the ceiling, like up there, like a spider. And the second he sees you see him, you see a blur of movement, and he's grabbing at you. You can make either an acrobatics or an athletics check to resist. You feel your neck grappled by an immense unholy strength, and he lifts you up and kind of moves you away from the box towards like the side of it and places your back against the wall. You can kind of feel like he's doing this intentionally to kind of release the strain from your neck onto the like kind of adornments on the wall. It's almost like a kindness, and his eyes kind of glowing red and his fangs being bared. He says, "Why are you following me?"
Curiosity mostly.
Drop. He immediately just drops you to the floor. I do not like to be followed.
We could go together then.
You see him kind of like tilt his head to the side immediately.
Like that, Belroth is forgotten.
Most people at this moment typically cower in fear or urinate themselves. Your absolute jolliness is a disarming factor in this altercation. Who are you?
I hardly see how urinating myself here would help. But I'm Jai, Makinos. Nice to meet you.
You see him kind of grin, and there's like a smirk to it, and he kind of... Gothias Torinor. And he kind of reaches down to help you up.
I don't believe we've met before. Are you new to Knock?
I am not really here for anything other than this display. My relative invited me.
I know that tone. Not the best of terms with this relative.
He is certain that I will be amazed by the main actress, but I've seen her already and I am not impressed. He is of a mind to steal her from this place, take her away. He thinks that it might bear as a tribute to me, or I might be interested in the matter, but I am not.
I see. Is it because of her performance? Because, quite frankly, I've seen better myself. But
he kind of shrugs and grins at that and says, no, he is a slave to tradition, and he has ideas about me that I think are incorrect. I do wish to restore a lot of what I once had, but not in the same ways. A lot has changed since, well, a lot has changed over the years. I simply wish to be left alone and allowed to collect what I had back to myself.
seems like a relatively reasonable request.
1 second. He raises his hand and places his finger on your lips. And you see his eyes kind of shimmer blue for a second. Interesting. The one sitting next to you. What has he said about me?
He hasn't said anything about you, but he did not give you the best of looks.
A fair assessment. Ekstrom is a servant of my former master. Although I know him by a different name.
Oh? What name might that be?
And Paragon. The Iron Dragon.
Oh.
I don't know why I'm confessing this to you or speaking to you of these matters whatsoever, but I will say that your jovialness is a bit infectious. How long will you be in the city?
This is my current residence. I am relatively easy to get a hold of.
Do you know where House Toronto is located in the city?
I do.
Tomorrow evening, I would very much like for you and any of your close friends to be welcomed to dinner. I'm sure that you are aware of what I am based on my display. I do not mean that in a double entendre method. I do not plan to consume you or your friends. We will eat.
I appreciate the clarification.
Normal
I
fare.
had not expected that, but I'm glad it's out on the table.
I unfortunately must be going. If you wish to have a much more comfortable seat, you can take mine. I believe the ticket still remains. If anyone gives you issue, you see his eyes shine blue and he kind of turns back. Tell my servant to deal with them. And I will see you tomorrow night. And he starts to kind of move away from you.
As he like turns, I'll like nod, and it's been more than a pleasure.
And yeah, he moves away from you. Meanwhile, outside, those of you who are still watching,
Go Thias.
she continues the story and comes to a point where she describes the battle at the Lich Mizir's Tower, which happened at the end of the Civil War of Osiria, and ended with the destruction of the Lich Mizir inside of its hidden pyramid of souls. According to her song, she and others, specifically an individual she mentions as Kelder, were present at the Pyramid of Souls. And that's when her singing in this introductory portion ends, the curtains close. And I will try and get this to work. I can't do it. I may have been a little bit too ambitious with this. I think Roll20 is definitely shooting me down in my capabilities. Oh, come on, Switch.
I love how this
Appreciate the
man was
effort.
like up on the wall
Oh yeah, he was,
Spider boy.
wait.
and and
You
and Jay was just kind of like, hey,
Yeah, well, no, that's exactly why he was disarmed. Like, it was... Normally, it's a farting, pissing, and shitting kind of situation when, you know...
Farted and shitted.
If anything, Jai was a little turned on.
Oh God.
It's like,
It was like, oh.
you're like, Team Edward.
What do I call you now? Daddy? I mean, no. Daddy? No, I mean, wait,
The,
Dad? No.
The curtains close. When they open again, a scene is kind of pushed out, and from what it appears to be like the facade of a castle, and a balcony, which Lady Fi now stands atop. Based on its adornments and the way it looks, most people in the theater would recognize it as the Hall of the Hierophant in the capital city. It's a pretty noticeable kind of piece of construction. And there's a light kind of shining down before it. And again, token issues because of Roll20. I'm not going to try it. But there is a man standing there with elvish ears and bright blonde hair that appears to be wearing the robes of a conglomerate mage. and he sings up to her. And this is the absolute weirdest part about it. And again, even if I wanted to sing this portion, there's no way I could. Are you familiar with throat singing? Kind of
Yes.
like a
Oh,
double
yeah.
kind of voicing.
Like the Who.
This
like,
individual
that-
literally starts singing when what appears to be 2 to 3 other voices on top of the voice that he's based in, and it sounds very much like kind of if you've seen the new Dune, like the Sardaukar kind of like battle cry stuff. It's kind of stuff, and it sounds like it's a bunch of gibberish. It literally just sounds like kind of like a maddening display. The other thing you'll note is he appears to be holding a bag, and based on its dimensionality, when he's reaching into it, it appears to be a bag of holding. And he's kind of marching around the stage, the lights following him, and he's throwing out roses, flowers, and kind of like all of this towards the stage, kind of landing out in front of him. And the things that he's saying, again, are just absolute gibberish and madness. And Lady Phi, when she retorts, seems to be confused. It's absolutely her portion of the song. Sounds like someone who is absolutely at a loss to help someone, to help a friend who is beyond her ability to help. Kelder then kind of stops into the middle of the stage, reaches into his bag and pulls out one last item, throwing it aside, and it appears to be a beautiful elvish sword. Kind of raises it up into the air to kind of like display. The light catches it. It looks like this theatrical weapon was kind of polished to a high sheen. I'll allow it. But it kind of raises the sword up and turns about to kind of meet the crowd, kind of look out to the crowd, and almost as if they were breaking the fourth wall, is issuing kind of a challenge in these voices to the crowd. You then see the shadow figures, which are like
I
the
accept.
running up to the front.
No.
The shadow figures kind of come out with armaments, and they seem to kind of conflict with Kelder, who fights. Each time that he conflicts with one of them, they kind of make a gesture across him that seems to be kind of like a wounding gesture, and you see him kind of pull a bit of his conglomerate robe to reveal kind of like a red patch of fabric, another red patch of fabric with each of these assailing kind of forces hitting him. Eventually he kind of drops to his knee, covered in all of these red patches, so holding his sword aloft. And Phi, up at the top, kind of reaches down behind the balcony and lifts up a censer, just smoking green like the smoke from before. She very just gently tilts it so it rocks to the side and moves like a bell. You then hear the sound of a bell kind of tone out over the crowd. It seems like it's coming from the orchestra. And when it does, you see Kelder fall to the ground.
What a sad story.
She then turns away from the scene, kind of moving towards the interior of this building. And a door opens to reveal the red-headed woman reaching out with her hand. Phi takes the woman's hand, and the two of them enter into the building together. And then the scene kind of pulls away and the curtain is closed.
Damn.
Jai, do you return back to your seating?
Oh, I return to his seat
You see Ekstrom
in
confused,
the middle.
kind of looking at you as you do.
I'm just gonna sit down in that seat and turn and see his confused look and say, I don't think he'll be joining us for the rest of the evening.
There's no way. Like he seems to get the wrong idea of the matter, and then kind of like shuffles in his seat, confused.
Now
As a
He
he's
won't be
being-
joining us. See?
it's about like you get the kind of last bits of that Phi scene and kind of get the end portion of it, Jai, and
Mhm.
as it kind of the music tones down, the curtains close, and people start clapping down below, and also the two other people in the booth with you. He gets up and walks out, You then hear a sound outside of the curtains, which you would recognize as some sort of teleportation magic.
Oh, he just went bye-bye? Oh, shit.
Sorry.
And then you're sitting in the throne. You're like king of the castle. I am the master. I have the best seat in the house. Third
May
act.
not have gotten all the answers we wanted from that guy, but now we've got a dinner date with Gold.
Yeah, and I actually pasted incorrectly. I did actually mean for there to be an intermission in between the two 5 parts, but we're gonna go ahead and say that the intermission would begin after the second section of the 5 story. So the narrator of the Void would basically explain that intermission would be a 30-minute ordeal, and you can stand up, move about, do as you please. Is 30 minutes about right, or is it an hour usually?
Usually it's only 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, but
30 minutes.
I'd love a 30-minute intermission.
Yeah, you got a lot of shit ready.
Yeah. Could fix so many costumes.
Could you imagine making the
What are
costume?
your actors doing that they need to do 30 minutes of repairs?
They literally, I don't know what these kids are doing, but
You
they were
gotta do some
literally
movement
taking
work or
shots
something with them, like-
backstage. They're literally taking shots backstage in costume,
That's
and then
a great
they're
idea.
also. I mean, I was about to be like, "You're taking shots. Share with the class."
For sure.
And then they're like stepping on their
They're always bringing
costume
up.
that are made of tulle. So
Oh my
like
God.
there was one that had like this giant horseshoe rip that was as long as my fucking arm, and it was like a
So-
U shape. Anyways,
So
back to D&D.
real quick, as you're if you're funneling back out into the main room, or if you're staying in your seats, just let me know which those
Yes,
two you
it needs a
prefer.
drink.
Stephanie did point out a good
I need
question
a
on the
drink.
side. I do want to make sure you are aware. The actor who was playing Kelder was among the common area, but then at the 30-minute mark moved into the back. So you did see the Kelder actor, yes, and I wanted to move the token there and place it there, but Roll20 hates John right now, so
Gotcha. So it's not actually Kelder. It's
No.
someone. Okay.
no, not actually the real deal.
I was gonna say there's some shenanigans going on. Huh?
Yeah. By the way, if you
Belroth is slightly uncomfortable having been chased and almost mind humped by one of these people.
So are you staying in your seat then, Belroth, or are you going back out to the main room?
I don't know. He'll probably, like, if most of everyone's going in, he'll follow
I
them.
mean, Sen can just
He's
pick you up a
basically
glass
puppy.
of
He'll
something.
just follow whoever
Shall I-
has food.
Do you remain up there or head down to go intermingle with your group?
What do Lady Alcantara and Alvin do?
Alvin gets up and says, I'm going to go and check in with that very handsome individual, John. I'm going to go and speak to him. And Alcantara says, fine, it's fine. She just seems to be kind of annoyed and flippant about it. And Alvin kind of reaches in very familiarly and says, it'll be okay. There's no way we could have stopped it. Just keep that in mind and enjoy the show. He kind of turns and heads out. Alcantara seems to be kind of pouting or just...
Is she in the seat next to me or the far seat?
So now that you're in the middle, she would be in the far seat. Actually,
Okay.
yeah,
Then
the far seat.
I am going to scoot out of this seat and hop into the seat that Alvin has just left open.
You're a seat hopper.
She turns to look at you.
He's not sitting there at the moment.
I
He
mean,
can kick me out when he comes back.
Interesting. Actual fawn. I haven't seen any of your kind since I left the Ellen Shay.
The Ellen Shay. Oh, I haven't been out that way at all. How are things going?
Well, fortunately, the unending storm broke enough for us to make passage to this location. Otherwise, we would have all died. The matters in the Dragon Isles are quite unfortunate. You see, a very powerful mage known as Venkar has started a very horrible display of power, and we already had problems persisting with the dwarves. with religious types and also evils inside of our islands. I am happy to have it all behind me, but leaving a problem behind is the same as solving it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem as though you completely left it behind.
I suppose I still carry it with me, but it's no longer a problem that I need to resolve.
And yet, here you are upset by it.
I'm upset by the resolution. I absolutely know that getting my people out was the only process available to me, and Alvin's capabilities and his allies were what made it possible. Unlike my father, I was never a quitter. I've always been one to try and fight, and that was not an option that was made available to me in this matter. Sorry, your name is?
This Jai, sorry. Lovely to meet you.
Out of character, you start to kind of realize. I just want to make sure you understand. I've always keyed Jai as someone people just feel comfortable enough to talk around. So you're going to get a lot of this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's
no,
just,
that's kind of how I wanted to build this character.
100% the vibe I've gotten. Yeah.
Everybody's gay best friend is Jai, in my opinion.
Exactly.
You know,
Right.
He's Glen Coco times 100.
Like, yes.
Oh my god, yes. You go, Glen Coco.
What I'm doing.
So, are you from the city here?
Not born, but I've spent the majority of the last few years here, yes.
Well, Alvin is keen on trying to find a house to affiliate ourselves with. If you had to suggest one of the 10 houses of Nock, which one do you think would be best suited to helping kindly elves who are homeless?
Out of character, is there a house that I should be recommending?
We can go through them.
More so than...
We can go through them again. They are all in the handout, but I will just kind of go through them again. Yeah, House Alistair is kind of like one of the main house. It's one of the two main houses alongside House Rosnald. House Alistair very much focused on kind of the early traditions of Munio, and House Rosnald very much the early traditions of Liparis. So Munio is very fluid and very kind of keyed on like keeping knowledge and sustaining it, whereas House Rosnald is very much about law, order, justice, and the way of like the right way, not the like right way, like, you know,
This is the way.
like the way that it should be, not fascist shit. Fuck that. No fascists. Then House Calibor is very much a circumstance of artifice. They are very keyed on invention, creation, and kind of making the city better, making the world around it better. House Daigot is very centered on kind of secrets and kind of coordinating the information traffic in the city. House Calyx is associated with House Gravesend. The two of them kind of go hand in hand. House Gravesend is very much focused on keeping the city green and lush and lavish, and they are said to have druids as their kind of main kind of ruling body. And House Calyx is kind of like the wardens or guardians of that. But you would also know House Calyx is also focused on bioengineering things, such as creating mushrooms that make their mycelium into kind of brick-like patterns, and other kind of biological force mutations to kind of create desired effects in organisms. So very much the mad scientists compared to House Calibor's like robotic mad scientists. House Harrigan is a bureaucracy, but they also deal with invention, more so like the railways and like cars and such, and also like the body or the structures that those things require. House Nomen is the theater and the arts. House Nomen is actually you're inside of Nomen's kind of territory here. Torinor Opera House is a part of the Nomen main like structure, or also known as the Nomen campus. And then House Sereda is the defenders of the realm. They are the guardians. They are the ones who are out there making sure that none of the horrors from the outside get in, and they're also the ones policing the streets, along with House Rasnald. Oh, and House Montoulet is weird. Yeah, they are very magical, but they are also very law-oriented, and they also have their own religion, according to many. Like it's almost,
Okay.
I'd say when the religion is talked about outside of Montoulet, very similarly to how common zeitgeist would kind of refer to like Freemasons and shit. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep. So yeah, I'd probably tell them about either the nature one or the theater one would be the ones I would point. I guess it would depend on what they're looking to do to contribute to this city. So I would want to talk that through with Lady Alcantara and just sort of explain who she should talk to, depending on what, because I don't know their people as Jai.
Okay, well,
you know, so like if they're an elf culture that like
you are working Alcantara is the goal here, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna cut back to the main room. Who goes back into the kind of waiting room to kind of spend their intermission there? Sen, Aveline, or are you staying seated?
Well, I'll stay seated.
Okay.
Harry is going to use the restroom.
Terry's going to use the restroom. Okay. Belroth, you said you were going out, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he just kind of follows whoever.
And
Don't
Namalia,
go get drinks.
you also were going
Yeah,
out, right?
drinks.
Okay. So, Sen, the first thing that you kind of notice is closer to the doorway. And again, I'm not switching the maps because Roll20 being difficult, but closer to the entranceway, like the not the entrance to the theater, but the entrance to the whole complex as a whole. You see a familiar face currently talking to another person who looks similar but isn't the same person. You see a pale man with a bright red cape, black hair, and a twiggy crown.
Our good old buddy.
Again, I don't think anybody. I don't know if I've sent the picture, but I'll throw it out here in a second. Again, if Roll20 allows me to do it. But you do see the person you recognize as Golthias speaking to someone who looks kind of like him.
Wait, so there's two Golthias?
Not exactly like him, like
okay.
blood
Like
relation.
a cousin or something. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, seeing him first, grabbing that drink and grabbing a second one.
Okay. So you would note that Aveline did not come out into the hall and wouldn't be able to see this. Okay.
Yeah. And the other Aveline, the not
Is not there.
Aveline, Aveline is still upstairs.
Correct, with Jai.
Yeah, so she's still upstairs. Okay. Just want to make that clear. So saunter over to him and just offer him the second drink.
As you approach him, you see him kind of look at you. And would you say that your form is close to your form from your normal form to recognize?
It's noticeable enough.
Okay.
Or close enough. It's just different enough that it fits more with the
You see him kind of stop for a second and place his hand on his head, like he's having kind of a headache or something.
Yeah. Sin is a headache.
He kind of looks to you.
Drink.
I know you. And he kind of reaches out to take the glass.
Hands it over. Yes. What are you doing here? I never expected you to be in the city.
The other man says, I invited him to ask. Gothias looks at the other man and Damon. Not the time. Go and speak to some of your fancy friends. I do not have time for this, and I will be leaving. And Amon says, she's perfect. You need to do this. Clethia says, no. If you do anything to move about, I will have issue with you. Understood? Of course, great-grandfather. Turns and moves away. Clethia looks to you. Sen. As he kind of turns his
Belroth
attention
is
to you.
so confused right now.
Are you with Sen? Oh, you rebel? Okay.
He follows like a puppy.
He literally followed behind her with 2 glasses. He's like, all right, we're drinking. And then he's like, oh.
Oh,
You got one for him. And then now he's just so confused. He's just like,
he's like ready to double fist it with Sin, and then he's like, oh, we're not double fisting anymore. Okay.
Based on your history.
That's what I imagine in my head.
yeah. just
Just
like hide it behind his back.
Hold on.
Hide it in the cape.
He says to Sen directly, and this might get creepy. It's not going to get weird, though. He says, based on your history, you're not too unfamiliar with living a double life, having 2 ideas as to what reality is and what reality is not. I remember a lot more than you think I might. You were inside of me. You were inside of my dreams.
I mean, yeah.
A lot of your memories remain in my head.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's understandable. I never had the chance to fully appreciate what you did for me.
Well, you are free now, so.
Well,
what are you up to besides here?
I was just at an auction on the other side of the country a couple days ago. Managed to acquire some things. Oh,
exciting.
My God. That is so weird. Did you leave Aveline on a train?
No.
Then why do I have Aveline? And why did the person who got her for me say she was on a train?
Oh, how do you have Aveline? We have Aveline.
An associate of mine granted me her frame. It wasn't hard to activate her again.
This is some weird, messed up magic. Cause I just saw them.
Just saw Aveline.
Yes.
So you were upstairs.
No.
What is this?
Belroth is so concerned right now.
He shakes his head and kind of like looks down at the glass, which is already empty, by the way, and then looks back to you and says, "And of Notter?"
Oh, he's back home, tending to his things there. Something about an evil noble taking over things and killing all his family.
I remember his memories as well.
Yes.
Hopefully he's done what needed to be done and justice
Yes.
was served.
Yes, I've been sending him some, well, his money.
There's only one person whose memories I cannot remember. And it plagues me because I know what happened.
Hero.
He nods his head. I know what the deceiver did with him.
Yes, we still miss him. But he made his choice. We all made our choice.
Well, I have an issue
Yes.
that I must be dealing with. So I will be leaving. You see him kind of blink for a second, and then you can kind of feel like a vibe kind of roil across the tops of your brain. You're pretty certain that he's using vampire fuckery to kind of detect your surface thoughts. You know Jai?
Yeah, we're good friends.
He's currently with my Aveline, and I've given him my seat up in the booth above, which means that there's probably a free seat available for you or whoever else. I don't know exactly why he hasn't come down for the intermission, but
He's probably chatting up someone.
oh, well, there are a couple of different individuals up there. One who I'm not particularly fond of.
Oh.
A
Who?
Dragonborn. You probably
Is
don't.
it Ekstrom? We both hate each other.
I'm sure that Jai will be able to tell you more regarding the matter. I do, again, have pressing business. And, yes, I know for certain that there's no reason, based on the display you've seen of me, for you to trust me, but I must make sure you are aware that you saw me at my darkest. My most vile. If anyone can be an advocate for me, I would hope that someone who died to become my servant would be capable. So, I did invite your friend to meet with me tomorrow night. I hope he extends the invitation to you. And he turns and walks.
Great. Turns to Belroth. Sorry about that, old friend.
Friend?
Friend, fiend,
You were definitely
enemy.
you were definitely getting vibes from him. Yeah, again, he is also really handsome.
He's very handsome.
But anyway, Namalia, did you stay inside or did you go out?
No, Namalia came out probably like at a slower pace. So she's probably catching up to Belroth and Sen.
Who is
Just-
literally just standing there with two
And sensing
glasses.
that some fuckery has occurred, but isn't sure what's going on.
You'd see the stranger, who you wouldn't know the name of, kind of turn and move about and leave. You'd also see the person that he dismissed kind of move away from him. And you can see that he kind of takes a position on the high point above the ballroom area. And you can see that the woman with the red hair is out kind of mingling with everybody. The lady who keeps taking the ladies backstage. She's mingling with everybody. And that guy is watching her like a hawk. Like, he is very focused on the red-haired woman.
Gulthias is.
No. Endemon Gulthias, the younger, not
Yeah.
vampire.
The great grandson.
Oh, so not Endemon Gulthias,
No.
Endemon Torinor, sorry.
Foreigner, yeah.
So it's the grandson.
Great-grandson,
that's like
yeah.
checking out that lady.
Yep. For some reason. But that's what you'd see kind of from like a third party, like outside perception.
He's
when you
making
move
sure
up.
she don't mess up her costume. Just kidding.
Or he's gonna kidnap her.
Namalia, if you move over to Sen and Belroth, do you point this out?
Yes.
And Sen, when you look over at the red-haired lady, it's that exact moment that she pulls off her wig and kind of like settles it into her hand, kind of holding it just for a couple of seconds, and you can see that the hair that comes out is beautiful blonde hair.
Yeah,
Her eyes bright blue, and her features annoyingly familiar to you. Like,
Oh no.
Yeah.
I hate this game. Why is John obsessed with blonde?
There's so many blondes. It's okay. We know her.
She looks familiar, but you don't know her. Again,
Oh.
this face,
Oh.
this
It's just-
Oh.
I've got
It's the type.
I've got a
The
type.
Yeah.
Right.
He just didn't like her because she had the red wig on. That's all it was.
Right.
Cast in the wrong part. Great grandson done fucked up.
Yeah. She should have been cast as Irith. She was blonde.
Exactly. Then he'd be like, oh, best actress. Oh,
Waifu.
waifu.
Anyway,
Anyway, yeah.
when this is brought to your attention by Namalia and you see her and you get the connection, you understand kind of what Endemon was saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
So what was Namalia saying before that? Sorry.
Then Aveline. No, Aveline's not with us. Sen,
Yeah, Aveline's not with us.
you and Aveline have some strange friends.
Oh, absolutely.
This gentleman over here. Was Gulthias and Gulthias Jr. together?
Yeah.
As they
So
were
what you would have seen is as you're coming out, because you said you were behind Belroth a bit,
right.
you would see that Sen and Belroth kind of head over towards that group, right? And it looks like Endemon and Gulthias have a conversation, and then they break off. Gulthias seems to dismiss Endemon away when Sen comes over, and then Sen and Gulthias begin a conversation with Belroth just standing there kind of...
Holding two cups, looking extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
so sorry.
And
Sen owes you a drink.
quick note, too. I'm sorry, just to make sure. Terry, did you stay inside the theater, or did you go
Went
out?
to the potty.
Oh, that's right, bathroom. Oh, yes.
I went out into the lobby to use the restroom.
I have something for that. Sorry. That's... thank you. Okay,
Amazing.
great.
So Terry's a little guy. He drank a lot. He's got a little bladder.
That's what
Little
you
walnut bladder.
That's what you see. Yeah, Namali, that's what you see as you're kind of approaching. And basically, as you kind of make it there, Gulthias has finished his dialogue with Sen and has left their presence and is moving out of the theater entirely.
Sen, do you see your friend over there kind of eyeing the actress? Isn't that
Oh,
a
you
bit
mean
odd?
his my friend's what did he say? Great grandson?
I can't really keep up with landlubber genealogy and heritage.
It's fine. They look very similar. Yeah, I do. That's weird. She's the one that's been pulling everyone into the curtains. I think she's the one who he was referring to that he would like. I mean, she is his type, after all.
Who's type?
Oh, my friends. Apparently, he's invited us for dinner via Jai, but we haven't seen Jai yet. There's also another seat upstairs. If we want to go. Do we just like pop up and say hi? Or do we want to talk to the lady?
I think we should.
Talk to the lady? Fair enough. I can get her a drink. Well, maybe that wouldn't be a good idea. She does have to go back on stage. Can get her a snack.
You're so thoughtful, Sen.
It's the best way to introduce yourself.
You were
That's
raised right.
If that's the case, you're acquiring the beverage and moving over that
We're
way.
not.
Cut the scene to inside of the bathroom. Terry, you kind of go in there, and it's like that really strange kind of like you're brushing past a couple of people who are talking and moving past you, like they're exiting out of the bathroom, and you're kind of making your way in. Once you get inside, it's completely quiet. Still as the grave. No one else is in there because, you know, they just left, right? You kind of make your way over to, again, there's public, or there's waterworks, there's plumbing, and you make your way into your stall. As you're kind of doing the business, you do hear the door open, and someone enter in. And it doesn't sound like they're taking up a stall. It kind of sounds like they're moving towards like the water fountain, like to wash up. And that's about the time when you finish. Do you exit out of the stall normally and move to wash your hands, or do you stay in the stall and wait for them to leave? Absolutely.
Are these like...
I don't know if anybody else has been in a public bathroom, but have you ever had that moment where you're like, they're just gonna go and then I can go and it'll be fine. I don't have to deal with looking at anybody in a bathroom?
Yep.
Okay.
100%.
Are these
100%.
like American stalls, or are they like the European ones that don't have like a 5-inch gap or like that big of a gap
So-
under the door?
Or
No.
are they squat toilets?
What I would assume they would be most like, to be completely honest, would be almost as if like they are kind of separate rooms. They actually have doors.
Yeah.
And you can't see anybody. You can't even kind of tell. You can just hear. And like, because the doors aren't terribly thick, but they are full doors, you hear them in there. But you again can't see them or make any kind of look to them. I understand what you're trying to do, so you can't peer out and see what they look like, but no.
Gotcha. Can't peer out. Okay. Do I still have that, or did I switch it out when I rebuilt my character? I might be able to see through walls.
Okay.
Why do you have that skill?
Why wouldn't?
It's an invocation.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of seems on par for some
Hooray!
It sounds just like a Terry spell.
Yeah.
No. I switched out my invocations when I rebuilt him for the campaign.
I was about to say, if you had it, I was going to say, creeper's going to creep, you know?
Right.
Exactly.
Yep, no, I switched it out for Devil's Sight.
That's
Aw.
fair.
Okay.
Sight beyond
I'm just
sight.
so I'm gonna like sit there for just a minute, like
Okay. And wait.
But then when I realize, oh no, like he's not leaving.
Well,
like
if you wait for about a minute, you hear them wash their hands. Okay. Whoever this person is. And then kind of sounds like they might be moving towards the stall, and you hear a door open. It doesn't sound like the main door, it just sounds like a side door.
okay. When I hear that door open, I'm going to
Okay.
exit.
You then kind of see the person kind of entering into the stall kind of turn around as they're entering into the stall and look over their shoulder down at you. The gentleman in question is wearing a robe, which is absolutely not high fashion. It looks like it's just like a black robe. Underneath, they're kind of
Like a
wearing
bathrobe.
like a almost like a Holocaust robe, kind of like, you know, like just a overcloak kind of.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
like.
Gotcha.
The flame retardant kind of just like from Princess Bride is what I'm referencing when I say Holocaust robe. I don't know if that's the correct terminology. It's just the first thing I could think of. So sorry for the offense. But moving on then, the individual has brown hair and kind of like a mustache and beard. Underneath, it looks like he's wearing kind of dark clothing, and looks like on his little red sash he has like a mask that looks like it pulls over the head, like almost like a complete like head covering that would make him a complete black silhouette.
Oh.
That's what he looks like. And he stops and he looks back and he goes, interesting, and then kind of closes the stall door and kind of walks over to you and starts crossing his arms.
Oh no.
A servant of the Lady of the Deep?
Okay, when I hear that, I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna start washing my hands, and I'm gonna like.
And he's just kind of standing next to you, awkwardly looking at you.
I'm gonna like say in his head, like, "I'm sorry, what was that?"
He kind of smiles and out loud says, "No, it's okay. No one can hear us. I made certain of that." Omnonir,
No, it's like
he says. What you
out of
think
character.
is
What was that again?
Omnonir, he says, kind of gesturing and offering his hand.
A no near.
No, he says
Terrence.
Omnonir.
Annoying ear.
You've almost got it.
Annoying ear.
Annoying ear.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Sorry. So,
I'll call you Annie.
I can tell you that it's very interesting that you happen to be present here. On my
I mean, I'm a patron of the arts.
Well, it seems you're a patron of much more than that. And so it would seem that this is a very malicious circumstance for you to be in. You do know what's coming, right?
Of course I do.
She's told you then.
Act 4.
Yeah, she tells me pretty much everything.
Oh, well, good then.
But why don't you tell me, just to make sure we're on the same page?
So you are a very loyal servant of the Lady of the Deep, then. Roll an insight check. Roll an insight check.
Insight.
All kinds of bad. And it's happening in
Sorry, I
bathroom.
had to...
I'll give... Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't seem like he's a servant of the Lady of the Deep. It seems like he's just aware of them and might be kind of not aligned with your patron. So
Okay. Okay.
And Terry gets shanked in the bathroom.
So, what interest do you have in me right here?
Well, the conflict.
Maybe
of
I'm
this...
just here to see an opera.
That's fair. The conflict of the stars. I just want to make sure that I have this very, very peculiar opportunity that's been afforded to me. It's not every moment or day or year or, I'm sorry, time is fickle, is it not? That you run into someone who happens to be aligned with a creature that will be a part of a great conflict in this region, who's already started to make moves in this fashion. I can offer you a bit of an out, though, if it's not something that you want to be involved in. As I'm sure you are aware, you forged a pact with this entity. Perhaps unwillingly. I understand that the Lady of the Deep does like binding people to it in a more sinister means. But there's another pair of stars that are seeking to conflict with her, cause issue. You may not be aware of them. Eyes that watch, hands that grasp.
What are you offering me?
I am a servant of the court of seasons. I can offer you an audience with a much more benign master or mistress. Perhaps someone who could afford you the powers that you seek without possibly tearing your soul out from your very body. I'm sure that you've seen it if you are closely aligned to your patron, that others like you are tossed away with little regard for their living.
Listen, you may think you know what's what, but...
He smiles, and for a glimpse you see him, and he's towering to the top of this room and like covered in like stars, and is a complete like shadow figure. It's literally just a flash, and he smiles as he takes his regular form again and kind of looks at you. I'm here because I'm a servant of the arts. I enjoy great creations and works of art, and I've offered my services here to assist as nothing more than a stagehand. But I tell you this, just like you, probably nothing more than a wanderer in the city who's probably made great pains to keep food in your belly and a roof over your head. I can tell you that there are beings just like you, powerful, given this power, but at a cost. Duty is something that you have not been forced to deal with as of yet. But when the time comes, you will be forced to pluck out the eyes and cut off the hands of your opposition. Stars don't fight like Fae. He kind of moves towards the door. Last chance. I can grant you an audience with the Archfey. Or I can leave you here to continue wallowing.
I'm simply built different, you see.
And as you're kind of like denying it in your head and kind of like thinking about it, the door's just kind of already doing the and you don't see Omnir anymore. He's not there.
Omnir.
Omnir.
I go over to the door and just like open it, look through the
He's not
doorway,
there.
see if he just ran out. Like,
He's not there. Either he has like the full-on sprint speed of like an envoy automaton with the soul of a badass monk in it, or he disappeared somehow through magical means.
well, that's that.
Fucking insane, man.
Isn't it?
And I'm gonna go over and finish washing my hands.
Terry's bathroom adventure.
You gonna tell us about your new boyfriend?
See, I wish I had my notebook with me,
Just watch it back and take notes. That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
I'm gonna have to watch it back because this is important.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a
will.
man named Omnom Ear.
Timestamp, it started around the
It was around
30.
Yeah, 240
Yeah.
mark,
2:30.
Yeah.
235, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm just gonna after that. I'm just gonna return to my seat.
Aveline, if you're staying in your seat, you are sitting there. The only person that seems to remain in the theater, kind of in your immediate area, there are some people, kind of the riffraff, ribble-rabble over at Chandraways, that are not in the cool kid seats. But the only person in the cool kid seats that kind of remains up there with you is the man with the head in his lap. Although the head's not in his lap, it's kind of in its own chair off to the side.
I mean,
Where is he?
they had 2 tickets, so
He doesn't seem to be paying attention to you. It does look like he's having a conversation with the head. A whispered
Oh, I see.
conversation with the head.
It's the creepiest opera I've ever been to.
Yeah, I'm just gonna passively watch that.
Okay. You see the head kind of look at you, and its mouth kind of go. And then he kind of turns, the guy kind of turns and looks over at you. Ah, hello. I
Just
sorry. Are we being too loud?
no, carry on and just like
Of course.
just look.
You remind me of somebody
Yeah.
I know, or I knew. I know. I knew.
Oh, is that so?
Yes. Someone from a long, long time ago. Someone interesting. Anyways, you then see the face kind of go, as it's looking at you, kind of smile, and he kind of looks back and he goes, "You think?" And it goes, "Eh." And he kind of goes, "Okay." Looks back to you and says, "Do you mind if I give you a gift?"
A what?
A gift.
Gift?
Oh.
is it an iPhone? No.
You can absolutely refuse at any point during the gift giving process. I don't mean to force something upon you. I just you remind my brother of someone, and I'd like to give you a gift.
Well, I'm not one to turn down a gift.
Of course. He smiles and he reaches into his pocket, which you can automatically understand is a bag of holding, an extra dimensional space that he's reaching into. He pulls out what appears to be a porcelain mask attached to kind of a stick, and he kind of reaches over, holding the mask, handing you the rod that would hold the mask. This belonged to someone, a great hero of the city I'm from. She died pretty horribly, but I was able to recover this, and my brother has always thought it would be very interesting to give it to someone who was like her. Like you. A creature of
What do you
artifice.
Oh, let's see.
As you take the porcelain mask, you can realize that it appears to be like a more traditional, older style, undaunted face that's been kind of attached to the rod.
This is actually very creepy to Aveline. But she doesn't want to be rude.
You would
She's just
immediately,
kinda like,
as an artificer, recognize that it is magical.
yeah. She's just kind of like grimacing a little bit, and doesn't really know what to say to this.
He says, "You can absolutely refuse. My brother just thinks that it might be something you would be able to use."
What exactly is it?
Well, it's her face.
I can see that, but I mean, why?
Is what this guy did?
Her name was Valette. She was a great hero. She fought atop or below? Atop? You hear, "Ugh." It was below, but at the time on top of the Pyramid of Souls, and helped defeat a very powerful being. This and other parts of her were recovered, and this was the part I kept.
Well, Thank you for that.
If you accept.
Certainly.
The head goes and kind of nods. It's at this point, as he kind of like smiles and kind of leans back and kind of closes his bag, that you can see that the head sitting on the thing, the cloak is kind of, or the cloth that's covering its neck has kind of moved or shifted, and you can see that there appear to be like there appears to be like an esophagus and like guts and lungs kind of attached to it. You can make an Arcana roll or a Religion roll, your choice.
Let's see. They're both pretty good.
Because of your relationship with Gulthias, I'll give you advantage on the roll. So 24. You would know that this appears to be what is known as a Penongalon. Or a Penongon. Can't pronounce things right. I'm bad at it. But basically it's a form of vampire. They come from the realm, or the region known as Seiryu. And basically they are just a very different kind of variation of undeath. That would take a person, and it results in the person's head removing from their body, being eternally hungry. I'll see if I can get you a handout of what it would look like if it were floating. But Roll20 is being a hot mess. But yeah, and you see Hadrian, upon noticing that, kind of shifts the blanket to cover up the bits. It says, well, enjoy it. I hope it's of some use to you. She was a great hero.
Thank you for that. I hope you enjoy the opera.
So far, so good.
She just like awkwardly kind of turns back there forward.
Okay.
Holding some dead person's face in her lap.
Yeah, essentially a corpse's disembodied face. But yeah.
Okay. So it seems like intermission's ending at that point. So people outside, is there anything you want to do before kind of making your way back in?
Oh.
Terry regroups with you, I assume, after his weird bathroom adventure.
So I guess we're not talking to the lady then.
Sorry. Let's get that out of the way. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea. It'll probably be very shortly into that she'll have to kind of address simply move away from it. But Terry will basically be moving over to the group as this conversation starts then. So at any point, if you want to interject or just stand back, Chris, feel free. You walk over to her. She seems to be getting a bit of attention from others and seems to be kind of, taking compliments. She's feigning the, oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the starlet kind of mentality. When you approach, she says, oh, thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up. I hope you've enjoyed the show so far.
Oh, yes, it's been lovely. What a great performance. I'm excited to see the rest of the show.
Oh, well, great. I'm sorry, I don't think we've met, but your outfit is amazing.
Thank you. I had it made. Fits like a glove.
It seems to, yes.
I just brain went blank.
You would
Sorry.
know from the cast list that the person who was playing Alicia Nagai was never given a name.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
It was listed as undetermined.
Right.
You can make you're from Knock, right?
No, I moved here.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Never mind. And Namalia is not
who
from
are you?
here.
I didn't see you in the program.
You see a bunch of people nearby kind of like looking at you like, oh my god, what? And you see her
Sorry,
go,
I'm not from here.
You see her kind of lower her head, confused. You are familiar with my work?
Sorry, I'm not from here. I just moved here recently.
You see a couple people nearby going, oh, that's gotta be it. She's stupid. That's it.
Yeah.
Sophia Gilraith, she says as she reaches her hand out to take your hand. Where are you from?
Is it like one of those creepy, like...
Yes, it is absolutely the effete actress thing,
little bird feet handshake.
I see.
So she would say, yes, where are you from again? Are you from Bellum, like Lady Bester there? Or perhaps from Parnak, like some of the other individuals?
Oh no, I'm from a very small town. I don't actually remember where the origin was, but it wasn't either of those.
You name it, she doesn't seem to know
Yeah.
it.
It's really small.
I've never heard of it. Well,
It's all right.
again, if they are half as classed as you in the town, it might be well worth a visit. You approached me. I'm sorry, I'm about to head back in. Can I help you with something before I go?
Oh, well, I was just
Did you want a signature or something? Well, you don't even know who I am, so why would you?
oh, no, I wanted to compliment you on your great work, and seems you have been getting a lot of attention and kind of eyes. Does the girl eye thing of
she does
shifting
heads up, there's a creeper.
she does a quick shift and she kind of looks to you. She kind of leans in, says, "Do you have a means of getting out of here very quickly?"
I mean, can try.
Here. And she hands you what appears to be kind of like a small slip that's kind of blue colored. She does so very, very stealthily, like very trained, and slides this little blue slip over to you. This will allow you backstage. At the end of the third act, I need you to be ready to move me very quickly, or there will be problems. I think he's set to ruin the conclusion of this play.
Oh, I see.
She nods her head, kind of looks over her shoulder, but not all the way, just kind of like, gesturing. I don't know what he wants with me. And at that point, you hear the casting call, kind of like asking them to come back. And then they're also
you should
saying,
go.
Thank you. And she kind of puts on her best face and kind of heads back.
It was great to meet you.
You see a couple of attendants kind of quickly come to her, like stagehands, kind of come to her and says, "You were told not to take off the wig." what would you say? What would you say to an actress who's fucking around?
Why would you do that?
Why the fuck is your wig off? It takes 30 minutes to get that on.
Well, you've got 5.
Zach is yelling.
So where did all the bobby pins go? How did you get that off your head?
Exactly. We actually started doing the velvet headband thing the drag queens do.
Yep.
It cuts down bobby pins like crazy.
No, those are great.
It's
Those
better,
are so good.
It really does.
There's no reason not to.
I kept getting yelled at. I'm not a wig person, but I kept getting yelled at because the wigs were bad. Then I put one of those velvet. I made 2 of those velvet headbands.
Real quick, just kind
Not
of as
a problem.
An end portion, and we will start next session at the beginning of Act 3. It didn't move exactly as I imagined it pace-wise. Roll20 obviously had something to help with that, but I do want to mention a couple of things that you'll note as you're kind of entering back in. It does look like a grouping of individuals you kind of saw moving about the space, but weren't really aware of, but now are kind of more focused on, are also looking at her.
Is it the creepy dudes with the masks?
Yeah, so they're wearing conglomerate robes, and the mask that they're wearing marks them as magiers. So you're not at war with a conglomerate anymore, so it's conglomerate sympathizers are not welcome in Osiria, but conglomerate like envoys and officiates are fine, so long as they don't try and set up magier towers or like ruin, the law and order in the space. But they also appear to be watching her. The other thing you note is that Lady Vester and her holy swordsman are still, or have reconvened their conversation with the captain. And the Tabaxi pirate kind of seems to kind of be smiling now, and so is Lady Vester. You also notice that both of them are holding glasses of wine and look a lot more kind of coordinated. You also notice that her and her skin tight like red bodysuit, she seems to be kind of moving in a bit more, like getting very very close to the captain, who is not
spicy.
Absolutely not resisting in any way. You would note a familiar face, a guy in the Mardigan family named Tybalt, has somehow gotten into the entry hall and is talking to the captain, and the captain is handing him something, and then Tybalt is leaving. Like whatever transaction Lady Vester and the captain had is now at its juncture, and they're just enjoying the passage of good business.
Right.
And yeah, they all reconvene into the hall at the end of it. And Jai, as you kind of take your seat back, as Alvin comes in and asks for a seat back after having a great conversation with Lady Alcantara, which actually kind of endears her to you. She explains that currently they are staying with House Rosalind in the center of the city. And she would like to afford you some time to act as kind of a advisor, but more as like a hired on kind of temporary advisor. Her true advisor still is not in the city yet. Her spiritual guide has not entered the city as of yet. Appears that they are engaged with other matters that Alcantara is not willing to elucidate. Something in the Feywild that this spirit guide of hers is dealing with.
Okay. Yeah, I will.
Oh, out of character, quick, Elizabeth. Zach is not referring to Sophia.
Oh.
Zach is absolutely referring to Lady Vester, who is his
okay.
sister in the Sunday game.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway.
I just saw it like after the Sophia thing, and I was like...
Points aside, Ekstrom returns to his seat, Jai, still kind of annoyed looking at you. And you would note that in walks another person who looks kind of like Gulthias, but not quite. Like a young or more human version of Gulthias. And he asks you, excuse me, what are you doing in this seat? Then you see a hand kind of touch his shoulder, and Aveline, in exactly the same voice that Stephanie would give it if it were, Stephanie playing this NPC, says, "Here's my best Stephanie impersonation. Hello, Governor." Says, by right of grace,
Brilliant.
he has been given the right to sit in that seat by the one that was given the ticket. Do not attempt to trouble him.
Technically,
You see,
Gulthias gave me that seat.
Ekstrom kind of looks to the situation as it's unfolding, and you see him kind of nervously kind of try not to look like he's paying attention, but you can tell that he's paying attention. And you see Endemon, the younger gentleman, say, "Of course, a servant of my great grandfather is absolutely correct in this matter. Enjoy the seat, whoever you are." And kind of annoyedly walked away. And yeah, the next scene will start up starting next session, and we will continue the Three Sisters opera. I hope it's gone good so far. And thanks for those that watched. We will pick up next time. Stopping the stream.